Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is our very first WandaVision open spoiler discussion. We are going to be talking about WandaVision episodes 1 and 2, which of course have dropped and are now online and available for viewing on Disney Plus. I hope you guys are having a great day. It is, we've kind of overlooked it a little bit, and we really shouldn't have. But the MCU is back, ladies and gentlemen. It is, I know it's weird to think about, but it has been well over a year since we've had any MCU properties, new MCU properties, I should say, to watch and enjoy. And here we are. We've got it. It's now out and it's online. And I am joined today, and I will be joined, at least I think for almost all of them, for this discussion about WandaVision by my wife, Ann Campea. Ann, how you doing?
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be talking about not The Mandalorian, but WandaVision with you guys.
WandaVision this time. And we got lucky. We got sent streaming. We got sent early links so we can watch the first 3. Now, we are going to just talk about the first 2 episodes. That's all we're going to talk about is the first 2. We're not going to give away anything about the third. We'll wait for that until next week and all that kind of stuff. So here's how today is going to go, guys. Ann and I are going to give our quick thoughts on the first couple of episodes, and then we're just going to spend the rest of the time taking your open comments and questions, full spoilers and everything. Now, in case the title of this video did not give it away, make it clear enough. This is going to be full open spoiler discussion. So if you have not seen WandaVision episodes 1 and 2 yet, or if you care about this sort of stuff, you should probably go away, add this to your favorites list or to your watch later list and come back later. But we are going to be talking open spoiler discussion. You have been warned. Okay, let's go into it. And I've got dogs running around my feet. Since Ann and I are both in here, we've got Lily and Chowder running around my feet. So just forgive me if you see me looking down every once in a while to make sure I'm not kicking my dog. Okay, let's give our quick reactions here. Ann?
Yes.
We knew it was going to be very sitcom-ish focused. They were going to do a big homage and honor the old sitcoms and stuff like that. I didn't think they would do it very much.
Yeah.
I thought they would give some winks to the old sitcoms and that would kind of be the setting. I didn't think they would lean all the way into it, but they leaned all the way into it. I mean, it is all like Honeymooners kind of era sitcom. Then you move it up to like a Bewitched kind of era sitcom. And then, well, no spoiler about episode 3 because you saw it in the trailers already. But then in the third trailer or in the third episode, they move up to the 70s era. We won't talk about the third episode.
Pretty bunchish.
So yeah, a lot of we'll be very quiet about it. But, and for me, I remember you and I were sitting and watching it. And my reaction at first was very much, okay, this is cute. This is working, I suppose, in some ways. And I thought it was cute. I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was working. I was enjoying it. I was grinning and stuff like that. But to me, it wasn't like the be all end all. Like this wasn't absolutely fantastic, but it was nice. It was charming. It was enjoyable. But then I looked over at you and the whole episode, you were grinning ear to ear, like constantly laughing out loud at all the jokes. Like you were really digging the whole sitcom aspect thing. What were your thoughts on it?
Oh man, they totally got me with it. Totally. I ate it up. I am a kid of that generation that would sit and watch episodes of I Love Lucy, the days that we didn't have to go to school. And Bewitched and all these like very, very funny old sitcoms. And they just I don't know what the right word is, but they hyper accentuated like everything that I loved about those shows into these first 2 episodes. And I think for some, it could have been a little too much, with the fake audience and the humor being what it is.
They had to have the artificial audience tracks, right?
But I ate it up. I thought the humor was on point. I will start by saying I love that WandaVision is original and it, in some ways, takes us out of what you would normally think of when you think of a Marvel movie or TV show. this is very much out of the norm right now, to see these characters in this fashion. And I eat up also stories where people are trying to get their bearings in a world that they're unfamiliar with.
Right.
You know, like Thor is one of my favorite movies
The
too.
fish out of water story.
Yes, it's one of my very, very favorite story hooks, and I think they nailed it. And you could tell that Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, it felt like they were really enjoying this like cheesy, dialogue that they had to deliver.
They looked like they were having a blast.
They looked like they were having fun. So I ate it up. It was my kind of humor. I love the banter between the couple. Obviously, being married you got those like little jokes that you have as well, and so it just reminded me of things that we typically would say to each other too. And can I just add that Catherine Hahn is the perfect addition in terms of supporting cast. She's amazing. She reminds me of how Ethel and Lucy used to interact with each other. She's great.
I was talking about Catherine Hahn earlier today on my show about. I mean, you and I have loved Catherine Hahn forever, like going all the way back. Because one of our favorite movies is Step Brothers.
Yep.
So going all the way into Step Brothers.
Yeah.
And like she was so good in that. And then, of course, one of our favorite shows to watch together is Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
And so she got that recurring character on Parks and Rec, which was so great. And it goes much further back than that. She was even in Anchorman.
Yeah.
Like she's a can't miss. Like whenever she's in something.
Yeah.
She'll make me smile or she'll make me laugh. And she's amazing. She comes in, what's her name? Dottie, or I think she said her name was Dottie in it.
Dottie.
Or Diane or
I
whatever.
forget.
Something along those
lines.
lines.
I already forgot, but
it was just so good. And we're still waiting to see what kind of role she's going to play.
Yeah.
Again, no spoilers or anything. We start to get a little bit more insight into her in episode 3. But again, we're not going to go into episode 3 stuff. But that was great. And of course, it's a very slow burn.
Yes.
Because it was only that one moment, really. Well, they have a couple of moments in episode 1 where they start to realize things are wrong. And that's when I really start to get intrigued. Like, they're like, well, wait a minute. When is our anniversary? I don't know. What do we do with this company? We don't know. But it's in that first episode when they're having the dinner party. This is the first part that was kind of freaky because the guy's choking, and that's not what's freaky. But it's like his wife, that 70s show mom. It's like, stop it. And it's like, I really felt like this is kind of, I think I said it out loud to you. It's like, this is actually
There's
creepy.
elements of like Twilight Zone, the way they shoot some of these really quick, eerie scenes in the show, for sure.
And it's also I think that scene was the first maybe hint of Wanda may be in control of this whole thing. Because that was the first time Wanda stopped speaking in 1950s sitcom tone and goes, Vision, help him. Like, it's like that was different. And then later on, I think it was at the end of episode 2, when they come out and they see the beekeeper, and she's like realizing this isn't the way I want it to be. No. And then it backs up.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So that was kind of the first maybe suggestion that Wanda may be in control here, maybe not, but I mean all that stuff was like really, really good, and they're doing a great job of making it light, fun, and everything, but as a viewer, always keeping you on the edge of knowing that there is something very wrong here.
Sure.
And then, of course, episode 1 ends.
Yep.
We cut outside, and now somebody's watching this all on monitor, and you pointed out
modern time. Yep.
The sword logo you pointed was actually up on the dashboard of the guy who was watching the monitor.
Yeah.
Which was pretty good. Now, listen, you may not know about this, but the beekeeper. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the beekeeper. My only guess is in the comics, there was an evil organization called AIM. Something mechanics. Anyway, they were basically a bunch of scientists who just wanted to discover things without ethical or moral borders.
Okay.
And they were quite often a foil for these things. And in the comics, at any rate, Strucker was the founder of AIM, at least in the comic books. And of course, Strucker is in the MCU. He was part of Hydra. He's the one who gave Wanda and her brother Pietro their powers using the staff. And then, of course, in the show, there's a commercial for Strucker Watch. So that all could be. Anyway, the AIM guys all wore those like classic yellow hazmat suits.
Yeah.
But they were often called beekeepers.
Oh, okay.
And their henchmen were kind of like the beekeeper henchmen and stuff like that. So maybe that's a connection. Maybe it's not. I'm not 100% sure about that. But anyway, I mean, yeah, so they could be AIM, the beekeepers. Maybe it's something else. Maybe, I mean, they suggested several things. Like there was hints that somebody else is controlling her and keeping her trapped there. Mm-hmm. There were hints that maybe she's actually the one in control and totally being in control of the whole situation. She kind of wants, the whole thing is kind of a big denial for her.
Sure.
Maybe on the death of Vision. Of course, we saw in the commercials, there's a scene in the commercials that's obviously comes later in the show where Vision, it's all in color now, and Vision sees Debbie or Dottie or whatever her name is in the car. And she goes, "Am I dead?" And Vision says, "Why would you ask that?" And she says to him, "Because you are." Mm-hmm. And it's like, whoa, anyways, but just in general, how are you enjoying it so far?
I'm loving it so far. I had no expectations. I really am not a proponent to kind of like watch commercials and trailers and things like that. So I came into it pretty cold and I ate up the first 2 episodes. I love the angle. I love the humor. I love the seriousness and even the kind of anxiety and suspense of some of the parts of it. I love kind of the like looking out for Easter eggs to figure out like as a viewer what's going on.
You were just laughing so much. You laughed so much through the first 2 episodes.
I did. I ate up the in the second episode the whole magic act. So
oh my god,
let me just explain to you guys how much I love Paul Bettany because I have loved him since A Knight's Tale.
Okay, yeah.
And he was Chaucer. And when he comes out and he does the magic act drunk, quote unquote, because he had like the piece of gum stuck in his gears, it brought me back to the way he played Chaucer in A Knight's Tale, and I was just super happy. I was grinning. But I love the way that the two interact together. I can't get enough of them. And I think that's important, right? Is to have your main 2 characters have that chemistry enough so that the viewer is interested. And so far, I'm eating up all the episodes.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. And to me, the best parts are the one that tease what is to come.
Yeah.
So I've been enjoying the stuff, not as much as you have, but I've been enjoying especially the stuff that's teasing of what is to come. And again, that whole Magic Act one was so funny.
It was great.
It was so funny. And like, I was also one of these kids where like at lunchtime, I'd put on old reruns on TV and those would often be like Gilligan's Island. Like when I come from lunch, these old shows that my parents would used to watch, but these old reruns would be on of Gilligan's Island and sometimes Honeymooners or Bewitched or whatever. And just like all of it. Listen, the homage part to the old sitcoms is perfect.
Spot on. Yeah.
There was
illustrations.
It was great. There was a lot of love and care.
Yeah.
But even
music,
the audience, the fake audience laugh track, and when they go, "Oh," and whatever, like it was very much, they did a lot of work to make sure they nailed it. And they really did. Anyway, guys, so far, we're digging it. We're digging a lot so far. Now we're going to spend the rest of our time here, guys, going over to you. We want to hear from you. What do you guys want to talk about? What are your thoughts on what we've seen so far? Talking about that, just use the super chat feature in the YouTube live chat. You can see right over there beside it. You can use that there, and we'll run with it. All right, let's start taking your comments and questions. Remember, keep it exclusively to WandaVision, if you don't mind. All right, James Argenta writes, post-premiere prediction. Mephisto, 80% likely, or Nightmare, 18, 2% other will be villain of season, played by rumored cast member Evan Peters. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people take a wild guess that it would be Mephisto. Actually, somebody on the show earlier today was maybe guessing Al Pacino was playing Mephisto. I don't think they're going to, listen, I'm not saying it's not, because I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have no idea. My guess is that they're not going to go that meta and that big at this point. I don't see them doing Mephisto. It doesn't seem to fit in from what we know of it. Again, not impossible or anything else. Again, I think it may be still organizational. The fact that Hydra keeps getting mentioned. It could be still, I don't know how many times the MCU and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that kind of stuff have beaten Hydra, but somehow they keep coming back. So maybe that's it. The Evan Peters thing, of course, Evan Peters is the actor who plays Quicksilver in the X-Men universe. It was Aaron Taylor Johnson, Kick-Ass, who played Quicksilver in the MCU. But they're saying that Evan Peters has been cast in this, not as Quicksilver, as many people like to speculate, but as something else. That's a possibility. I think still more it's going to be organizational, something to do with Wanda. I don't know. Who do you think there's ultimately going to be like some big bad guy, ultimate bad guy, or is this going to be more of an organization doing it, or Wanda's doing it?
I think it's going to be an organization, and it's going to be Wanda, and there's something that they need from her or whatever. But yeah, I feel like it can't just be one big baddie. There's going to be an organization that has maybe a few baddies that are a part of it.
All right, or they could be going the other way. Who knows? All right, next up. We have next another one from Jays Argento, who writes, it looks like MCU is setting up a Young Avengers Disney Plus show with Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang, Wiccan and Speed, Ironheart, Miss Marvel, America Chavez in Doctor Strange 2, led by Peter Parker, maybe. Again, let's keep our conversation to WandaVision and WandaVision over. I personally don't. I think just because we see certain characters coming in, I don't think they're setting up a Young Avengers. I could be wrong about that. I'm not willing to bet any money on that whatsoever. They very well could. My guess right now is that they aren't, though. But we'll see. They certainly have a lot of things that they are kind of setting up for, though. Maybe that's one of them. All right, Lee McHenry writes, hello, John and Ann. Greetings from Dublin, Ireland. Good to have you here, Lee. The voice on the radio and the voice at the end of episode 2 and keeps on saying, Wanda, can you read me? Well, it's that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I also thought another one was Wanda's Who's Doing This to You, or Who's Holding You.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't even know what's going on.
Right.
There is a possibility. We know the guy, who is the main star of Always Be My Maybe? Asian Jim. What's his name again? Park? Oh, I'm forgetting. You guys in the live chat. What's his name again? The guy who was Asian Jim in The Office. And he was the agent in Ant-Man 2. What's his name again? It's Randall Park. Randall Park. So we know Randall Park is going to be in this season. So that could be his voice on the other end of the thing. But again, we don't know. It's like, asking him, can you read me? Or is he saying, who's doing this or whatever? But clearly somebody on the outside is trying to reach, which adds to the confusion for me. It seems several times in the show like she's in control. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I don't want this. And she changes all of it. Of course, in the comics, she has reality bending powers. But then it seems like, well, maybe she's being held in there. Or maybe just the people on the outside, maybe S.W.O.R.D. doesn't know what's going on with her. There's clearly some kind of thing going on. We saw in the trailer some force field. I don't know. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what they're doing. But it could be. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, one of two. This show is clearly coming from a studio with absolute confidence in their brand loyalty, where they can spend almost an entire 2 episodes just making an old-timey sitcom and trust that we'll all just patiently wait for the other shoe to drop, and they're completely right. Well, yes and no. Because here's the thing, Ryan. For a lot of people who are watching WandaVision, they're not just patiently waiting through the sitcom stuff. There's a lot of people like Anne who are loving
the sitcom part.
Sitcom part.
I could care less about the other side story. I'm like, yeah, more of that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, right? But now listen, you're right. If this was outside the MCU, this would be some kind of a strange thing. It part of its charm is that it's Scarlet Witch and Vision.
Yeah.
That is definitely part of the charm. But yeah, I'm sure for some people who are used to, and this is understandable, I'm sure there's some people think, okay, comic book movie, MCU thing. All right, big, smash, bang, action, excitement, blah, blah, blah. And this is very different. Mm-hmm. This is like really different. And the
maybe excruciating for some people.
And maybe excruciating.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If all they watch comic book stuff, and there's nothing wrong with this, if all they watch the comic book stuff is they want to see the flash, bang, the action, the excitement, then this may be excruciating for some people. For other people, it's amazing. But listen, we're always saying we want them to try something new. The thing is, and I said this on the show earlier today, whenever you try something new, be ready for them to do something new. And this is
Right.
very new. This is very new. But you're right. They do know that their audience will come along for the ride. But I don't think this is people just sitting down and being patient. I think a lot of people are really loving this sitcom stuff because it is so different. Let's see what the payoff is. All right. Next up. That was Ryan Lohner. Next up is Lee McHenry. And Lee McHenry writes, is Agent Jimmy Woo from there we go. Is Agent Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man, Randall Park, and the Wasp, do you think Vision will return after this series? Well, again, we want to keep the questions really more to WandaVision, but I still don't know. I haven't figured out, is Vision just her hallucination, or has he actually been brought back?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll tell you why I suspect he might actually be back.
Why?
Because there are scenes with him away from Wanda.
Okay.
Like if he was just an illusion.
Like a figment of her imagination.
Yes. If he was just a vision,
Mm-hmm.
then you wouldn't see scenes with him away from her. Like, so things are happening with him that she's not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not saying he is absolutely back because like we said, we saw in the trailer, Catherine Hahn say, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't know. So, but if he's back, then yes, we will see Vision Beyond. But again, this is the MC fake death universe. No one who dies ever stays dead. They never stay dead. All right, let's move on. Sam Fisher writes, is it just me or is Olsen's acting so much better in WandaVision versus Age of Ultron? Might be that Joss was not the right director or she actually became a better actor. Listen, dude, then you're only watching her in stuff that is in superhero comic book world. I believe she's an Oscar nominated actor.
Yeah, she's really good.
Jose, let me
I'm pretty sure she was nominated.
I'm pretty sure she got what was the name of the movie? Mary, Sarah, Sister, something. I can't remember the name of it. Hold on, let me open it up here. But I'm almost positive she got an Academy Award nomination for it. No, not an Academy Award nomination. She did get nominated in a lot of awards ceremonies, including the Broadcast Film Critic Association Award and all that kind of stuff for Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. But she is an Academy Award nominated actress. She is a fabulous actress. She's incredible.
Yeah, she is.
But you got also to remember in Age of Ultron, they were still kind of figuring out what Wanda was even going to be. She still had her accent in many ways. Like now she has no accent whatsoever. So, I mean, they were just really figuring it out. But no, she has been and continues to be a remarkable actress. If all you ever watched her in was MCU stuff, then yeah, you saw her coming in when they were just trying to figure out what the Wanda character was, and she was really more of a side character. But no, she's absolutely incredible. She's really, really good. All right, next up. Let's see. And by the way, somebody in the live chat is mentioning again Wind River. So good in Wind River. Oh my God, her and Hawkeye in Wind River. So good. Okay, let's see. Next up. Sam Fisher writes, one of two. Holy shit, the red helicopter man in the hazmat suit and the TV screen to the left of the sitcom credits at end of an episode 1 had a sword logo. Anne pointed that out to me earlier. And the one next to the TV screen to the left of the sitcom series in episode 1 also had a sword in the blurry lettering below the logo. Yeah, there was a lot of that in it. And again, I'm not giving away any spoilers. There might be some more to come. I'm just saying, just throwing that out there a little bit. That's all. Sam Fisher also writes, need me that Strucker watch. Don't need the Stark toaster though. By the way,
it's funny, those commercials.
What? I think there was something, because I don't know if everybody noticed, but in the toaster commercial,
yeah,
the red light on it was red. It was in color. And it sounded like an alarm. Like beep, 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 beep. Beep, and it was red when everything else was black and white. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you guys have any theories about it, but I think there's symbolism to that.
I think there's it's one of those things where you have to watch the episode over and over again. I think there's symbolism to what's going on with like even the neighbors. Like when or not the neighbors, when his boss was choking, I thought that was somebody in the actual world choking. Like I don't know. I think there's a lot of correlation happening there.
There could be. All right. Next up, we've got, and yeah, I wouldn't mind getting that Strucker watch. All right. Sam Fisher writes again, 1 of 2. I'm wondering who is behind the whole sitcom thing. On one hand, I would say Wanda because of how in control she seems to be. But on the other hand, she didn't feel grief-stricken enough at the end of Endgame to do something like this, making me think it was somebody else. I don't know. She was, at the end of Endgame, she was pretty despondent. Like she was, when she had that conversation, I think it was with Hawkeye at the side of the river after the funeral, she was not right. She wasn't okay. She wasn't okay. Here's my guess, and it's just a guess. My guess is there's a stereotype about like old European countries that are kind of grow up on old American pop culture stuff, like I Love Lucy and stuff like that. Here's my guess. Totally guess, nothing to base this on. I think as a kid, Wanda and Pietro used to watch old reruns of these old sitcoms. And I think that makes her feel safe. And she created this reality around these old American sitcoms that she used to watch in Sokovia.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I'm just taking a guess and all that. Have you developed any other theories about where the whole thing with the sitcom angle plays in? Or
it makes the most sense to come from her, I think, and that's why I would actually also agree with your theory that it has to come from a place that Wanda's familiar with.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Next up, let's keep going here. That was Sam. The next one up is also Sam, 1 of 2. What do you think Monica's role will be? I think she is a sword agent. My 2 theories how she's there is that she was either sent in to check out a disturbance and got caught in the illusion, or she was sent in as the first agent to help and got stuck. Well, we can't answer that. Wait, I feel bad, but the reality is we do have some idea about what Monica's role is because we've seen episode 3, and I don't want to we're not going to give anything away with that. It's a totally good question. And I kind of wish maybe I hadn't seen, actually in many ways, I wish we hadn't seen episode 3.
True.
Because then we could now we got to wait 2 weeks before we see a new episode. But
I kind of think there's a reason why they shared up to 3 though.
Yeah. But everybody else only got to see the first 2. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, but we can't answer that question. That's all I'm going to say for now, Sam, is that we cannot answer that question right now. All right. Sam also writes, I'm pretty sure Randall Park saying so you think this too. I'm pretty sure that Randall Park is saying, who's doing this to you, Wanda, at the end of episode 2. Am I right? I don't know, but I was kind of wondering that myself. So I'm glad to know I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one who thinks that. So I think it might be him too. By the way, what's her name from Two Broke Girls? What's the girl's name again? She's in the first Thor movie.
Kat Dennings.
Kat Denning. Yeah, she's supposed to be in the series too.
Oh, nice.
So I'm trying to figure out when or where she comes into it because I'm dying to see her in it. But yeah, I suspect it was Randall Park as well, but I'm not sure. Okay, Sam also writes, what's the likelihood that they use the older sitcom techniques for things like the floating pots and pans, like invisible string, etc.? I thought the exact thing that, you know what, as I was watching it, I felt like I won't be surprised if they're doing what they used to do to make those types of effects happen.
Yeah.
But then they do things they couldn't do before, like the broken plate flying back together.
Sure. And
things like that. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that was all CGI just made to look like from the time? Or do you think maybe they used the old techniques to do those?
No, I'm hoping they used the old techniques. At least it made it, the way they shot it made it appear like they were using the old techniques, but I don't know. Who knows?
You know what? The reality is it's probably a mix of the two. There are probably times that they did actual practical and other times that they had to do CGI. So there's that. Okay. You know what? One shot was really good and they could have made it look seamless, but they purposefully did it badly to look like something from the era. Remember at the end of I think of episode 1, when they're sitting down the couch, there we are, an unusual couple. And it's like, we don't even have wedding rings. And they hold up their hands.
Yeah.
And he says, well, you can do something about that, can't you? And then she goes, boop, to put wedding rings on. And when they do, their hands are in different spots. Yeah. So it wasn't perfectly lined up.
Yeah.
Because if they were doing CGI, the hands would be totally still, just the rings would appear. but they did it badly.
Yeah.
To kind of make it feel like, which was,
Purposefully.
that was, it's just little nuances like that make it feel, as Robert Meyer Burnett would say, verisimilitude. All right. Let's see here. Next up, Evelyn writes, I really love the first 2 episodes, especially the mystery behind what's happening. Being revealed little by little. Also, Bettany and Olsen are great. Bettany and Olsen are great. First, I've always liked Paul Bettany. He's great. And he's also in A Beautiful Mind and Master and Commander. And besides Knight's Tale, he's great. I love him. He also has this little action movie called Priest. Not a lot of people saw it. I actually really liked it, where you actually see Paul Bettany as a legit action star. It's kind of crazy. But yes, for me, I'm with you, Evelyn. It is this all setup is just working because you feel like little by little, like you get the sense that something's wrong in this world, and then you actually see the little glitches in the Matrix and all that kind of stuff. And I completely agree with you. That part of it is really making it fun. Okay, next up. Sam Fisher writes in, love the opening scene of them dancing around. The fact that neither of them know what the heart of on the calendar means. That was so good.
There's so many things that are good.
What was the one line she said? It's like, well, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you, or something like that. Yeah. When she clearly didn't know herself. That was a very Lucille Ball.
Oh, so good.
Kind of thing. And even the cheesy, when they show up in the car and he picks her up to carry her across the thing. And of course he can walk through doors, and she like lands on the thing. It's just.
How about sing the song? Yakety yak.
Don't talk. Papers and the trash. And then like that 70s mom starts dancing as he's singing. I was like, this is so ridiculous. It's great. It's so ridiculous. It's great. Definitely like the strangest, weirdest, most different thing they've ever done in the MCU. All right, let's move on here. James Welsh writes, so it's implied they're sleeping together. So does that mean Vision has a penis?
Yeah.
How is no one on the MCU weirded out Wanda falling in love with a robot? Oh, believe me, James, there have been a lot of funny discussions about that.
But they slept together before in the movie. Like they
imply that.
Yeah.
We never see it. They never, I mean, look, Vision in some ways is a very expensive sex doll. I mean, he's just a really expensive sex toy. He's a toaster. She's having sex with a toaster. But, you know, no disrespect intended to any of our viewers who are artificial intelligence. I'm just saying it is, when you think about it, it is kind of creepy.
Yeah, you kind of just, I had that thought when I first saw them like wake up together, and I forget what Avengers movie that was. And I was like, that's interesting. But I just brushed it aside.
I think it was Infinity War. Wasn't it Infinity War? Yeah, it was Infinity War.
Yeah.
When they let it be known that they had officially started their romance and everything.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just a little weird. That's all. It's just a little weird. Somebody in the live chat said he has a fully functional operating system. Yes. That's what he is. All right, let's move on here. That was James Welsh. Next up, Garrett Couch writes, felt like an episode of I Love Lucy and Bewitched. Totally did, and I think that was totally on purpose. So I could just watch I Love Lucy and Bewitched. The Heimlich scene and then the manhole scene were not enough. Here's hoping. Well, I mean, see, and there's a good example, right? Whenever you do something very different, it is not going to satisfy everybody. And as a viewer, you shouldn't be expected to be satisfied by everything. Sure. I mean, look, it's not going to be for everybody. My analogy is Superman Returns. Superman Returns, I've always contended, is a very good movie, but a very bad comic book movie. And I've always understood why a lot of people walked out of that one frustrated, because Superman doesn't fight anybody in it. It's a Superman movie. He doesn't fight anything in it. He lifts a plane. That's the big action sequence. He lifts a plane. So I think it would be understandable that some people came into WandaVision, this MCU thing, and were expecting the airport fight scene from Civil War or something. I get that. Yeah. And if that's kind of where your mind was tuned right now, I could see that would be a little bit frustrating. Like, I don't know, like, can you see what do you think might be some of the dangers of what could frustrate some people watching this?
I think that's definitely one. I don't believe that they botched the marketing whatsoever for WandaVision. So
you're right. The marketing was right on the money.
If you saw the marketing and then you watched the episode and still had that sense of disappointment, then I think you missed something there in terms of the marketing was very clear that this was going to be very different and shot in such a way that would be very different than what you're typically used to for this universe. But I think I appreciate the originality. I think we got to go there. I think what folks might be disappointed in too is just the pace of it. There's little things getting peppered in here and there in the first 2 episodes that it could be a slow burn for some people, but I think it's definitely something that you just have to stick through. I'm obviously eating up the sitcom part, but maybe not for everybody.
But it's not for everybody, and that's fair. It's fair for not to be for everybody, and you should feel no obligation to love it. You know, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. You shouldn't apologize for that. For a lot of us, it is working, though. I got to say, it is working for many of us. Anyway, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that, Garrett. Appreciate that perspective. All right, next up, Taki75 writes, the new Marvel intro with the scenes from Infinity War and Endgame, including Cap catching Mjolnir, is pretty cool. It made me realize how much I missed the MCU. And I think that's always going to evolve as they move forward and different new things will be added. It reminds me a lot of when Stan Lee died and they changed the opening Marvel thing for just all Stan Lee. And then they changed for Chadwick. Yeah, for Chadwick, they did that for Black Panther on Disney Plus. And it's just there's just so much cool things you could do with that opening.
Yeah, they really nailed it with that thing.
Yeah, not just for this one, but for everything moving forward. You could always throw in special things that they want. That's one of the benefits of it. But you're right, Taki. I wasn't expecting that Marvel opening of it. And of course I should have. This is MCU. But when it started playing, it just felt like we were home again. You know what I mean? It's been so long since we've seen a new MCU thing. When it started playing, it just felt like home again. All right, next up. Ryan Lohner writes, so Wanda threw that lobster all the way around the world, right? I'd say we all know who she is now. I'm going to guess it went around the house. I'm just going to guess it went around the house. But again, it's that corny era humor. Because I'm not going to lie, when the bosses opened the door to leave and the lobster's on the door, I laughed. I thought you laughed your ass off when like at all that stuff.
I keep laughing at every time Catherine Hahn's character mentions her husband, Ralph.
Who we still haven't seen.
Which is perfect because that's usually what happens is that you don't see that character. They just let her go on and on about him.
What was the one thing she said? My husband should read How to Goose Your Wife so you don't lose your wife. Like, but that's the thing. Catherine Hahn's character too is the one character that will sometimes slip out modern context things. Like, I don't think at the time they would talk about seduction techniques,
right?
Or talk about certain things. And she'll throw in the odd little line here and there that kind of suggests she doesn't belong there. I think it's very subtle though.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, let's move on here. Next one up. Who was that? That was Ryan. Mike Riff writes, with however movie in the MCU shaped up, what on earth was the pitch meeting for this show? I'm so intrigued with how this became a thing. I agree. Listen, when they announced, I had the same feeling when they announced a Wanda and Vision show that I had when they announced that they were going to do a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I kind of felt like, wait, what? Really? And it just felt strange, but you're right. What was this pitch meeting like? Okay, I got this idea. Wanda, one of the most powerful beings in the MCU. Vision, imbued with one of the Infinity Stones, also one of the most powerful beings in the MCU. And they're in this black and white 1950 sitcom. What? How did... What, like,
trying to fit in.
How did you say this to Kevin Feige? That Kevin Feige went, love it.
It might be one of these things where you start at the end. You know, you typically, when you pitch a story, you know where you're going. Maybe they started where they're going and they said, but let's bring it back to when you work it back, they're actually living in this universe where they're in these sitcoms.
You know what? That's probably what they did. I wouldn't doubt, but yes, that would have been an absolutely nutty pitch meeting. I would have loved to have heard that. All right, let's see. That was Mike Riff. Next up, also Mike Riff writes, with how every MCU film has shaped to be, Mike liked the question so much, he wrote it in twice. But yes, it is crazy. I would have loved to have been in that pitch meeting, Mike. Next up, King Roman writes, hey, John and Ann, either of you have to move to the East Coast. Either you have to move to the East Coast or I have to move to the West Coast. Been waiting for this stream all day. Much love from New York City. Oh, yeah, because I guess the start at 7 p.m. out there on the East Coast because we started at 4 p.m. here.
Oh.
That's always one of the things too. Like I always forget that when I start doing the show, like the regular daily John Campea show, it's 1 p.m. on the East Coast, like in Toronto and New York and like Philadelphia. It's like 1 p.m. already. For me, it's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I sometimes forget that. So I feel you, man. I feel you. All right, next up. Patrick Conway writes, I really enjoyed it. It's what I expected. Starts off full sitcom and will gradually break down into an MCU movie. It kind of feels that way. Like now that we're into, like, I don't know what you think, babe, but now that we're into, it feels like every episode that passes, the amount of something's wrongness picks up a little bit more and more and gets a little bit more and more extreme.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling like probably at least by episode 5, it's just going to be blown wide open. I feel
I suspect 4.
You think 4?
Yeah.
That early?
I think they're going to get there pretty fast.
Tell me if you agree, but it almost feels like, now a lot of you guys, most of you guys haven't seen episode 3, but I feel like having seen the 3rd episode as well, I feel like I've seen 90% of what was in the trailers.
Okay.
After 3 episodes, I feel like I've seen like 90% of what's been in the trailers. But so I got a feeling, yeah, they are probably going to blow the doors off it pretty soon.
Right.
Pretty soon. So we'll see. All right, next up. Let's see. That was Patrick. Next one is Mighty Tank 1 who writes, I really thought that was David Schwimmer.
Oh, wait.
Which one?
Are you thinking of the guy who gets
Fired with the mustache?
That's
another
elaborate dinner for the boss.
That is another actor you would recognize, but I forget his name.
But he does look like David Schwimmer.
There is a little bit of a David
if
Schwimmer.
That's what you're talking about.
There is the guy who gets fired. That paltry excuse of entertainment. I hired a 4-string quartet. And your whatever, your pre-chant for beatnik culture. I wore a turtleneck. That was pretty funny.
Enjoy the unemployment line.
Enjoy the unemployment. Think about that in the unemployment line.
Horrible boss.
Horrible boss. All right, next up. Mary writes, I love the dinner scene in episode 1. So did we. Where the boss's wife kept saying, stop it, stop it, stop it. It reminded me of when VHS tapes start jumping and the audio sticks. That was creepy. Listen, it seriously was. Like at first, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like he's choking. She's, oh, stop it. But then she keeps doing it. Every time she did it, I just felt more and more uncomfortable.
And she is the perfect person to deliver that line.
You
love
jumped
her.
out
What
of
is
your
the
seat when
actress's
you saw
name?
her came out.
I loved her in that 70s
What's her
show.
name, by the way?
That 70s. Let's find out.
You look that up, but I'm not kidding you. When she came on screen, Anne
like,
almost jumped out of her
no
seat.
way. She's the best mom. Deborah Jo Rupp.
What's her name?
Deborah Jo Rupp. She played Kitty in that 70s
Deborah
show.
Jo, you now know who your biggest fan of the movie is. Because seriously, just when she appeared on screen, Anne just got, she was already liking it, but as soon as she showed up, Anne was completely invested in the show.
Yeah, I was like, no way.
Yeah, that's it. She's in.
It's probably the only
100%.
time we'll ever see her, but she was perfect in that role.
All right, let's keep going here. Next up, that was Mary. Thanks for sending that in, Mary. Ryan Lohner writes, Agnes also played Doc Ock in Spider-Verse. Yeah, that was Catherine Hahn. Yeah, she was the voice of Doc Ock in Spider-Verse. Love that. Mm-hmm. That may be a deliberate casting gag. If this is going where I think, I doubt it. Because remember, Marvel doesn't mind reusing actors again in the MCU for different things. Look at Gemma Chan, right?
Yeah.
Gemma Chan, who was one of the stars of Crazy Rich Asians. She was in Captain Marvel as Minerva, and now she's going to be in Eternals as a totally different character. So considering they used Catherine Hahn as just a voice in an animated thing that wasn't even in the MCU per se, I don't think there's any weird connection there. I just think they got a really great actress and put her in. Oh my God, she's so good in this.
She's great.
She fits that period acting so perfectly.
It's so good.
So good. All right, let's see here. Andy Newton writes, Norm is a communist. Yeah, that was fine. I know some secret too. Norm's a communist. Paul's acting was so good in this episode.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what's next. You know, it's funny. I was listening to this interview with him recently. I was telling you about this earlier.
Yeah.
Where he was just basically talking and saying like, you know, when you go back and you look at, when I look at how I got here, he said, I wasn't getting a ton of work. and I got asked if I like wanted to do this voice, some computer voice for an Iron Man movie where he got to be the voice of Jarvis. He said it was never in the plans that I would actually get in the MCU. He goes, here I am now. I'm starting my own TV show.
Pretty amazing.
It is amazing. Actually, I remember him too telling the story about how he first found out that he was actually going to play Vision. He was going to play Vision.
Oh yeah, I remember that too.
If you guys hadn't seen this, I think he was on, it might have been Jimmy, not Kimmel. Who's the other one? Jimmy Fallon. I think he was on Jimmy Fallon. And Paul Bettany was telling the story about how he literally, he said, not hyperbole, literally just came out of a meeting with his now former agent, who said, basically told him, your career's kind of over. You had a great career, you've had a run, but no one's going to be hiring you for significant things anymore and blah, blah, blah. He said, so I come out and I'm walking down the street kind of bummed out. And then my phone rings and it's, hey, do you want to play Vision in the MCU? He said, I immediately called my agent back and told him what for. You can't help but cheer. And if I'm not mistaken, he's still married to Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
So he wins at life.
John's jealous.
He wins at life. So well done, Paul Bettany. Well done. All right, next up. I think, where are we at? Oh, that was Andy. So the next one up is K. Nico writes, your favorite gag. Mine was my grandma. That was my grandma's piano. Said by the David
laughed
Schwimmer.
At that so much.
I laughed at that so hard. I don't know. I think sticking in that same episode, Drunk Vision was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I was digging Drunk Vision. Also the whole classic, there's nothing to be scared of, dear, and then there's another clash outside the window and Vision jumps into bed and pulls the covers up. She says, you were saying, that was fine. Do you have a favorite gag that we've seen in the show so far?
I liked at the dinner party thing where the thing opens up and she's like Wanda's like twirling all the food around.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He starts singing the song was to distract
the Yak to Yak song.
Yeah.
That was funny. That was really good. All right, let's see. Next up. Thanks for that, Kaneko. Andy Newton writes, whether the show is good or not, we have to tip our hat to Marvel and Feige for coming up with the concept. Ballsy, and I enjoyed these 2 episodes. And listen, doing something different and unique does not mean it's good. All right? Mm-hmm. Doing something different and unique does not mean it's good. But I think what we as fans need to do is not pretend something is good if it's not. But even if it's not, we got to tip our caps when they try something new and different and ballsy and original. This was gutsy. This was gutsy to do because they had to know not every one of their fan base was going to be completely on board with this. And I think it's important that if we didn't like it, we shouldn't pretend we liked it. But at least say, you know what? Didn't work for me. That whole sitcom thing doesn't really work. But you know what? Bravo for trying something different. And please keep trying original things. Mm-hmm. And different things. Too many times we fans, and I think we've all been guilty of this, me too. We as fans we just will poo-poo all over it and just kind of punish them for trying something new. Instead of saying, okay, you know what? Didn't work. It didn't work. But as fans, we're grateful that you took a swing. We keep doing that. Keep doing original things. Because even though this one didn't work, maybe the next original thing you try will, and I think we got to remember to do that. So I'm glad you pointed that out, man. All right. That was Andy, I think. Yes. Next up, Aurelia Garcia writes, wow, Olsen and Bettany were incredible here. Such amazing chemistry on screen. I couldn't keep the smile off my face while watching. And that pretty much
Me too.
described you.
I know.
Like, it's not just the setting. It's like, I don't know if this whole show works if that perfect chemistry between the two of them don't work.
They're so cute.
Why do you think, what is it about them that just makes them so watchable together, do you think?
I think it's just, they have some sort of on-screen chemistry, even outside of WandaVision, I think, when the characters got together in the cinematic universe. But I don't know. I think you can just genuinely tell they're having fun. They're having fun in these characters. They just give you that vibe that they're just like very grateful to be cast in these roles, and you can tell that they're just having fun as they're acting out these characters. But they clearly have on-screen chemistry, and I think their delivery of some of the dialogue and the jokes together really, really helps too.
I agree. All right. Next up, we have The Wakandan Forever writes, I thought it was great. I am really looking forward to seeing where the show ends up. It always keeps me guessing. There is genuine suspense, which is rare. Watching the show today, it has me even more excited for the upcoming MCU movies and shows. The What If series could be really cool. Yeah, the What If series could be neat. I think that one will be clever and cute. I'm not super excited about it, but it does look interesting. But what this WandaVision show does do is it says to me, they really can do anything. They clearly feel a lot more comfortable taking bigger risks with the Disney Plus series when they're not putting a $150 million marketing campaign behind it and putting it out into theaters. And so it makes me feel like, who knows what we're going to get? Because we have always felt, I think a lot of people felt, it's an MCU movie. We kind of got an idea what we're in for. All bets are off now. Now that we've watched WandaVision, we can't fall back on that. We know what we're in for. No, we don't. So I used to feel like, hey, I'm super excited about Falcon Winter Soldier. It's my most anticipated thing they've got coming up on Disney Plus for the MCU is Falcon Winter Soldier. But I've also felt like I know what we're getting and it's going to be great. Now I'm not even so sure I know what we're getting, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah. And I feel like the last time I had that feeling was Ant-Man. When Ant-Man was just enough different than the rest of the movies we had seen so far that I was like, this is pretty cool. And they should do that. They should make each of the shows that are coming up unique in itself because we all know they're connected, in some way. They don't necessarily have to be the same format or do the same things.
I agree. All right. Next up, let's see. Lucky Dragon writes, WandaVision, I think, was in hindsight the perfect show for them to start with. It's a television show about television, plays with the format. I agree. You're right. It just felt like a great introduction to a new medium for the MCU. Now, again, I know there will be some people say, but John, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. No, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't MCU. They pretended to be in the MCU. Yeah. It wasn't an MCU show. It is a really great starting point for them to do. And I agree with you. That's a really good observation, Lucky Dragon. All right. Lucky Dragon also writes, when Vision's boss's wife kept saying, stop it, she was looking at Wanda almost pleadingly. I think everyone in Westview are real people trapped.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's, I don't know. Do you think so?
I was saying that earlier. I think so. I think like the guy choking, something was actually happening to that guy. Maybe he wasn't choking on food, but maybe he was being choked out by somebody.
I don't know. See, the stop it, the way her face never changed expression. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Just kept repeating it. Stop it, stop it, stop. Maybe feel like she was like a glitch in the Matrix kind of thing, but I don't know.
Like the VHS tape that somebody called out earlier.
Yeah, like the VHS was saying somebody. It could be. Maybe there are people in there who trapped. Maybe there are people in there who are players.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there are other things around. Maybe it's not just one thing. Like maybe it's not just everybody who's in there is in on it. Maybe it's not everybody who's in there is trapped.
Right.
Maybe not everybody who's in there is an illusion.
Right.
It could be a mix of all of them.
Yeah.
And maybe part of the mystery is going to be figuring out which is which and who is who. So that's going to be something for us to look for. All right. Thanks for sending that in, Lucky Dragon. Next up, Sam Fisher writes, I sent in a tip mentioning Dick Van Dyke's Show and I Dream of Jeannie as the inspirations for episode 1 and 2. I was wrong. It's I Love Lucy and Bewitched.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a feeling it's really
all of it.
A collage of a lot of it. I mean, when you watch the opening of episode 2,
that's I Dream of Jeannie.
That opening of
100%.
2. Well, it's both, right? It's kind of both, like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. There's a lot of it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is both. You're right.
I think it could be a number of things. And I bet anything, if you talk to one person on the production, they'll say one thing. If you talk to another person on the production, they might say something else. But the beauty of it was you could feel the whole era in each of those episodes. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just an I Love Lucy. It wasn't just a Dick Van Dyke. It wasn't just a Bewitched. It wasn't just an I Dream of Jeannie. It just really felt like a beautiful homage to the whole era. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I really appreciated about it. All right. Jasmine Jones writes, my channel Jazzy Jones comments haven't been popping up. if you knew how to fix that. I'm not sure. I'm enjoying WandaVision. The sitcom feel with MCU hints. Yeah, sitcom feels with MCU hints. That's a great thing about that. As far as, well, your comment is here. I'm not quite sure how to address it any other way. Again, a lot of the YouTube stuff is a mystery to all YouTubers. I'm not quite sure what the deal with that is, but you're right. Underneath it all right now, it feels like sitcom lore with MCU hints, and I have a feeling it's moving more and more towards the other extreme. All right, next up, we have Justin D, who writes, I love the first 2 episodes, something different. That's what I've wanted. I hope some future Disney Plus shows, especially Star Wars, will follow suit. I don't know how different you go with Star Wars, though. Like, you don't take, Mando and put him in a 1950s comedy thing. It's a little bit more limited. What they should do with the Star Wars stuff is what they have always done. And by the way, we are having streaming issues.
Oh no.
Our stream is coming in and out. I just want you guys to know that we are familiar. We do know that is happening. We will keep our eye on it. We'll keep the show going as long as we can. What Star Wars can do is what the MCU has always done up until now, which is mix the genres. Ant-Man, heist comedy. Another one, or a heist movie. Another one, a comedy. Another one, an action film. Another one, a 70s political thriller. Another one, borderline horror. Another one, this. Another one, that. So they should interweave with the various genres and do some genre mixing. But you can't, in Star Wars, do something as bonkers as they're doing with the MCU. You can't? How do you see them doing something like that?
A frog lady and husband sitcom. Didn't we talk about that before?
Yes, that's right. There you go. I stand corrected. Frog lady and husband, its own standalone show with them like nursing their young that Baby Yoda didn't eat.
It's like Brady Bunch.
The surviving ones that Baby Yoda didn't murder.
You're right, though. It is limited. It's harder for Star Wars to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. Next up. Lucky Dragon, and then Anne can only be here for another minute or two because you had to take our dogs out, I think. Lucky Dragon writes, notice how the Stark Industries toaster started beeping like a bomb? Yeah, absolutely. And the light was red in the black and white thing. I think that was the first thing that was color in the show, was that red blinking light. I think I could be wrong about that, but I think that was the first bit of color in it. A clear reference to the Stark-made bomb that killed Wanda's parents. I was wondering about that too. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that Wanda ever said that it was making the beeping sound. I think they just said we just sat there waiting for Tony Stark to kill us. But I don't know, but it very well could be. It was a Stark Industries thing. Right. It did sound like a bomb. That's something that went through my head too. Whether they actually go there with that, I don't know, but it's a good observation, Lucky. All right, next up. Bullet 1510 writes, I think that Wanda was hooked up to a BART machine. I can't remember what a BART machine is, to help her deal with her grief. Okay, if you are a vanilla human, not so great if you are an Infinity Stone fueled witch with Mind Stone powers. It's possible. I mean, again, I can't. I'll admit I can't answer that. I don't remember what a BART machine is. I don't recognize the BART machine
sounds
thing.
Familiar.
I'm sure it's a comic book lore thing. I cannot remember what it is. But yes. Bill in the live chat is suggesting that the helicopter we saw was an actual shrunk down helicopter that was shrunk with Ant-Man tech.
Ooh.
You like
I
that
like
idea?
That. Yeah.
That idea is not bad. That idea is
symbols
pretty...
on there. Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, so it is 5:00. So I think Anne's probably she's got other things she's got to do, and I know the dogs have to go out as well. But Anne will be back every week for us talking about this thing. I'm going to take us the rest of the way home. But in the meantime, honey, where can people follow you and your adventures online?
You guys can follow me at Ann Campea. I also have a cosplay only Instagram, Ann Cosplays. Ugh.
Yeah, Instagram /Ann Cosplays. Do you want to show them the dogs? You want to let the dogs say hi? Can you grab them first?
Oh.
Are they behind you? You want to grab them?
They are passed out.
Are they passed out right now? We got Lily and Shadow here. Oh, I heard her complain. So this is Lily. This is our little girl, Lily. Lily doesn't talk.
What would you
like? But Shadow does.
Okay.
Can we see Shadow? So that's Lily. You guys have been seeing them a little bit lately. And then here comes her sister, Shadow. Hello, Shadow. You want to say something? No? You're not going to say anything?
Sing.
Normally she likes to howl at us when we speak to them. She likes to howl.
I just woke her up.
Oh, because she's tired. All right. Anyway, thanks, honey. We will keep on going now and keep going with this show. And we will get through more of your questions. So let's get right back to it. And we're going to start with Aurelia Garcia writes, which characters do you have your eye on for potential reveals later in the season? I think that more than a few of them are not who they seem. Well, the one obvious one is Catherine Hahn. I mean, that one to me is pretty clear. There's a lot more to her. I think she is more plugged in to what is actually happening than maybe a lot of the other characters. I will give you a little foreshadow. A little bit more of what you're asking is kind of touched on in episode 3, but I'm not going to give any details about that. But for me, just from the first 2 episodes, it's the Catherine Hahn character. That's the one that to me is really high probability that is kind of connected in more with this stuff. All right. Next up, and guys, please forgive me. It's getting a little bit warm in here. I'm going to turn on the AC. I got an air conditioning unit here, so forgive me if there's noise in the background, but it's actually pretty warm in the San Fernando Valley today. So it's warming up in here. Okay. Next up, J Meister 25 writes, one of the most riveting pilots ever because of how tragic it is and how that tragedy melds perfectly with its satirical nature. This show would not have worked without Infinity War. MCU still strong. No, you're right. And I think you've got to remember that there's an underlying Shakespearean tragedy here. She is living in this fantasy with her dead love. The one person she loved other than her brother, and lost twice. Once by blowing him up herself, and once by watching Thanos rip the stone out of his head. I mean, it's deeply tragic and made all the more dark when you realize she's living in this idyllic fantasy world with her dead love, unless her dead love is back. But you're right. There's absolutely an element of tragedy there. Hey guys, I've got a quick tech issue I need to take care of here. I just recognize I've got to take care of this tech issue. Give me like 30 seconds. I'm going to put up a be right back screen, but don't worry. It's only gonna be like 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds and I will be right back. Okay, guys, and I'm back. Thank you for giving me just a little break there. I had a technical issue I had to fix, and I think I've got it fixed. Okay, let's keep things moving now. So that was J Meister. Next up, we've got Justin Stockholm, who writes, with this series tying into the bigger scope of the MCU future, do you have any theories yet how they will do that? Love what you do and keep up the great work. No, none. I have no theories. Look, the one thing that we know about WandaVision right now is that, number one, it is part of a larger arc story that involves WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange 2. We know that is one story arc in there. The other thing that we know about it is nothing. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's the only thing I know. And just through the first 2 episodes alone, I really don't have any clear idea about where this is going. They've done a lot of great groundwork, but honestly, where this goes or how this, I feel like after the first 2 episodes, we don't have a clearer picture about how on earth does this tie into Spider-Man 3? How on earth does this tie into Doctor Strange 2? How does this all tie? Right now, we don't know. Now, I'm sure by the time we get to episode 6, 7, 8, but I'm sure by then we'll start to formulate some kind of picture about how all that plays together. But right now, I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm blissfully in the dark about that right now. Justin, so your guess is as good as mine right now. And I'm kind of liking not having any theories yet. I'm enjoying this. I'm feeling like we're just going along for the ride right now. And that's kind of refreshing. All right. Thanks for writing that in, Justin. Next up, Bullet 1510 writes, chances that nasty neighbor Dottie turns out to be Hydra agent Dottie Underwood. I don't think so. And the main reason I don't think that is because Dottie Underwood, it was already in the MCU. Dottie Underwood was in Agent Carter. And I mean, Agent Carter was as much MCU as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was, but still it is technically MCU. And we already had the Dottie Carter or the Dottie Underwood character in there. Remember, she was in the hotel, that character. So if for no other reason than that, for no other reason than that, I think it's probably very, very unlikely that that is Dottie Underwood, unless they decide to change things up. But yeah, Dottie Underwood, the character, has already been in an MCU thing in a different era, played by a different actress. So it's probably not, but you never know. You never know. All right. Jasmine writes, who is behind everything in WandaVision? Is Wanda controlling the reality or a villain? I think that's the $1 billion question right now. If I had to bet $1, I think while there may be outside influences, I am guessing that it's probably Wanda doing it. If I had to bet $1, maybe there's some villainous outside influences trying to do things too, but I feel like at the core of it, it's Wanda. But I could very well change my mind in the next episode. You know what I mean? So I'm not really sure, but right now the way I'm leaning, Jasmine, is I think the core issue is Wanda herself. And again, that comes from the fact that she seems to be in control. Like when something happens that she doesn't like, she can just undo it. No, like there is a level to her where she understands. There's a mental state in her that understands she is living in an unreal world, and she can change it if she wants. No. And we've seen her do it another time. Because of that, I'm still going to guess that, but you never know. We'll see what they kind of do with that as they move forward. All right. Next up, Jasmine Jones writes, though that was Jasmine Jones about who is behind everything. That was Jasmine Jones. All right. Patrick Conway writes, what role do you think Hydra's going to play? Because I would say I'd like to see Vader-like scene of Wanda just butchering Hydra agents. I'm not quite sure that we're going to see that per se. I don't think we're going to see, but listen, every superhero property has at some point a cannon fodder opposition, right? Every superhero movie or every hero movie of every kind at some point has cannon fodder opposition. You know, just random goons with masks on that the hero can just beat the crap out of, right? Not the boss level, not the boss of the level, but a bunch of cannon fodder to show them. I have no doubt that at some point we're going to see Wanda and Vision rip through a bunch of cannon fodder. Whether it's actually Hydra or not, I don't know. Whether the Hydra references come from Wanda's experience, because remember, her and her brother were transformed by Hydra, so maybe these are deeper psyche things. So I don't know if we're going to find out that Hydra's behind it, but you never know. There could still be Hydra elements around. We'll have to wait and see. But Patrick, I have no doubt we're going to see her rip up some cannon fodder at some point. It's definitely going to happen. All right. Next up, where are we at here? I'm having a bit of a freeze. This is not good. Something is freezing up my stuff right now. Oh, and there it goes. It's just kind of unfroze. Okay, that's good, but I lost my place. Okay, there was that. Where was Patrick? There was Patrick. Okay, now we move on. The CTB channel writes, in episode 2, Agnes brings Wanda a rabbit, a symbol of fertility. And at the end, Wanda's pregnant. Coincidence? Yes. Yes, I think that is coincidence. I personally wouldn't look anything more into that, but I don't know. Maybe there's some big, deeper hidden meaning to that. But honestly, I really think they were doing a magic show, and the classic magic trick is a rabbit out of a hat. So Yeah, I'm thinking that is completely a coincidence. But if not, if it turns out to be something bigger and deeper than CTB, you just are the first person to put your finger on it, and we'll see what happens there. All right. Next up, Jay Yondit. Yondit writes, where are we at here? What a strange but fun way to enter phase 4. It's slow, but the mystery being built is going to pay off so nicely. I cannot wait. And I agree with you. It on all counts. In some ways, it's very much a slow burn. But the thing is, when you get stuff like this that is a slow burn, you at least, all you can ask for is that let's be entertaining during the burn, right? Let there be entertainment during the burn. Let us enjoy the slow burn. And while this is definitely a slow burn building up to what the grander themes are, I feel like they're making it very entertaining along the way. Like I can't speak for everybody, and clearly it is not for everyone, but I feel like along the way we are being entertained. And that's big and that's important, and I'm glad they're doing it. All right, let's move on here. Next up, we've got Plot Twisties, right? I like that name. I stood up and cheered when I realized Buffy alum Anya herself, Emma Caulfield, was in episode 2 as Dottie. As a huge Buffy fan, this made me smile. I do not remember her from Buffy. Now, I'm not the type of person that watched Buffy like 17 times. I saw the whole series of Buffy probably once through. I don't remember anything else. But, oh, that's interesting if that's the case. All right, next up. Fan of Peanuts writes, hey, Ann. Hey, John. What's up? Well, thanks for writing in. Ann's not with us anymore. She's walking around the block taking our dogs out because they have to go out at 5 o'clock. And we have them here with us right now. All right. Next up, Geekpool DR writes, hey, oh, no, that was a Fan of Peanuts. Geekpool DR writes, it seemed like Wanda is being kept hostage or something. I didn't recognize the symbol on the beekeeper. Is it in the comics? I honestly don't remember the symbol on the beekeeper. Again, the only guess I have about the beekeeper is that it's associated with AIM, because AIM is associated with Strucker, and Strucker is referenced in the thing. But then again, there could be other reasons for Strucker. Strucker is the one who did the experiments on Wanda and her brother. So that could be the connection too. So I'm not sure. I do not remember. I don't remember the symbol, seeing a symbol. I just remember the beekeeper, and that's what they used to call the AIM guys. So AIM could very well be a part of that. All right, let's see. Next up, we've got, as I struggle to get to the next question here. Sorry, guys, I'm having some system issues, which is never happens. Sometimes I have some internet streaming issues, but I never have system issues. Certain things are freezing up on it. Can you guys, by the way, just let me know in the live chat. Are you guys still able to see and hear me okay? Is everything good? Are you able to see and hear me okay? Just let me know in the live chat if that's the case. But yes, I am having freezing issues. I'm unable to move anything. Everything is freezing up. Give me a second here. Let me see if I can ascertain what is causing my problems right now. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, but I'm going to try. Just give me a second here. Okay. So we are experiencing a problem right now. So guys, this is what I'm going to do. A bunch of my thing. I think there is a memory leak or something because my system is kind of freezing up. It's running at like 99% of its RAM, and it shouldn't be doing that. So what I'm going to do right now is I can't move the live chat or anything, so I can't see what the next questions are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream right now, but I'm going to start a new stream. It'll be part 2. I'm going to start a new stream in like 10 minutes, and then we will keep right on going with all your questions. I think I'm going to have to do a system reboot at this point. Again, this is what happens when you are completely enslaved to technology, although this is an issue that's never happened before. So I don't know what may be causing it, but I got to get it corrected here. So if you guys are good, give me like 10 minutes. I'm going to do a system restart, and then we will jump back in with a new live stream, and we'll go from there. All right. Yes. All right. Yes. Good. I'll be back in just a little bit, guys. We'll see you in just a few minutes with part 2. All right, are we back up? I think we are back up and running. Can you guys see and hear me okay? Are we back up and running? Yes, we're back up and running. All right. Hopefully we don't have the same annoying problems that we just had. Forgive me. Do let me know in the live chat if anything goes wrong, but let's keep right on rolling. Okay. Before something else goes wrong here today. All right. Casinema Reviews writes, the laugh tracks surprisingly weren't stock audio. In a featurette, they show that they actually filmed in front of a live studio audience. Really? Okay. Here's the thing though. They may have shot some stuff in front of a live studio audience, but a lot of that laugh track was clearly pre-audio produced laugh track sounds. I mean, it was just too clean a sound. I don't believe for a second, that was just natural audience sound. I don't believe that. Maybe they did shoot a lot of it in front of a studio audience, but no, I don't. I just, because you go back and you watch those episodes and you listen to the audience track, it's too produced. You know what I mean? It's too produced. So maybe they did it like where they did to make it feel more real. They shot it in front of a live studio audience, but a lot of that audio stuff was totally produced. It was totally produced. Had to be. Anyway, that's just my guess. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's totally my guess. All right. Frederico Della Casa writes, hey, John and Ann, the beekeeper could be AIM besides sword. Yeah, that's what I thought. My guess was maybe AIM. Now, it wasn't the yellow suit that they would wear before, but they were called the beekeepers. Anyway, they're famous to be called as beekeepers, advanced idea mechanics. That's what it is. Something mechanics, advanced idea mechanics. I want the Strucker watch. Yeah, you're not the only one. I wonder how many people went online today searching to see if they could actually buy a Strucker watch. Could be. I think a lot of people probably did. All right. Disney could make a fortune selling that merch. Like if Disney was smart, they would make little product things to sell that you could actually buy in an online store that they do their commercials to. The Strucker watch, the toaster, the Stark 2000 toaster, whatever it's called. If they did that, they would sell millions. I think they would actually sell millions. Midnight is saying that they would buy it. There you go. All right. Let's see. Next up, we have, where does it go? Lore Howard writes, and Lore Howard writes, hey, John and Ann. Hello there. What old show did this remind you of most? For me, it was a cross between Bewitched and Leave It to Beaver. I looked for Eddie Haskell. Again, like I was saying earlier, to me, it wasn't one particular show. You know, the strength of it was that it felt like they were encapsulating the whole era. It just felt like the whole era they were getting. But yes, little bit of Honeymooners, a little bit of Dick Van Dyke, a little bit of Bewitched, a little bit of I Dream of Jeannie. I mean, it was all kind of wrapped up in there. It just feels like it was all kind of wrapped up in there. So yeah, that's to me, but you're right. I think you could probably pick from any show from that era and it probably had some homage to it in there. You know what I mean, Laura? All right, next up. Where are we at? Now we are at KM Reviews, who writes, Dottie says, devil's in the details, to which Agnes says, that's not all he's in, referencing Mephisto. Every line is more than it seems. Again, I'm not so sure. Like this archdemon of hell, Mephisto. I don't know. It seems like a bit of a stretch, even for a WandaVision show. Now, somebody wrote into the John Campea Show earlier today with a theory that it would A, be Mephisto, and B, be Mephisto being played by Al Pacino. And of course, Al Pacino has played the devil before. Because, one of Mephisto's other names is Satan. They've referred to him as Satan before in the comics. Is that? So I don't know. It just feels, that might have been an Easter egg little reference. It just feels a little too out there for that. But I mean, it's a possibility. It's totally a possibility. There are a lot of people who are very into that theory. So, hey, that's very well how it could turn out. All right. Jeremy Tshabu writes, do you remember the person who said, Wanda, what have they done to you? Wanda, are you there? I don't know why. I think it's Doctor Strange. What do you say? Again, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. I think it's Randall Park, Agent Wu from Ant-Man 2. Now, I don't feel super confident about that. But also, you know, Wanda, who's keeping you there? Who's holding you there? All that stuff. I think it's Randall Park. Could be wrong. Can't prove it. But if it does turn out to be Randall Park, then I am not going to be surprised in the least if it actually turns out to be Randall Park. All right, next up. A fan of Peanuts writes, I enjoyed WandaVision. I liked and noticed how each episode jumps into another decade and deals in the tropes of each era. Loved creepy music in the credits. Yeah, I mean, one of the first things that I noticed, and I thought I was crazy for a second, but right at the beginning of episode 2, they show the house, and I'm like, wait a minute. Wasn't the house a single-story house before? And now it's a 2-story house? And their clothes have changed, and the interior has changed. You're right. So they are every episode goes to a different era. What the significance of that is, we'll find out soon, I'm sure, but you're right. And that is one of the cool things they do. Every episode, new era, and it feels really great. And it totally changes the tone of the show, because the tone of episode 1 is different from the tone of episode 2, because it's a different decade, you know? And I kind of like the way they did that. I thought that was really cool. All right, next up. Benjamin G.L. writes, final scene, Wanda uses the remains of Vision's body to revive him and revives Ultron, not Vision. I don't know about that. I don't personally think we're going to see, I don't think Ultron's coming into it. I really don't. And I don't know that for sure. I don't know that for sure. I mean, very well, it could be something that they decide to do. But I just don't think it. Now, listen, as a big fan of James Spader, I would love if somehow, some way the MCU at some point brings back Ultron. I think there's more untapped potential to do with Ultron. I think there is more untapped potential. But at the end of the day, I don't think this show is about Ultron. I don't think we're going to see him. I don't think we're going to see him. But hey, listen, Benjamin, if it turns out that that's what they do, I will remember that you said that. All right, Richard K. writes, and sends like a $27 super chat. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that, man. Richard writes, hey, John and Ann, hope you stay well during COVID. Do you think that they are a dream state and this sitcom theme is actually a dream and the voice wanderer heard and the person while they are frozen or asleep? Well, it's hard to say. Listen, people on the outside, because listen, right at the end of episode 1, plus we already saw this in the trailers, but even if you ignore the trailers and just go by the episode, there's clearly people on the outside who are being able to observe what's going on. Episode 3 gives away something else that is in one of the trailers. So I'm not giving you shocking news right now. There's something in episode 3 that is all we've already seen in the trailers that expands on that a little bit. But yeah, to me, it's clear it's some sort of illusion, altered reality state they're in. I don't think it's just a pure dream though. I think it's pretty clear it's not just a dream. So again, I don't want to go into too much without giving too many things away from episode 3. You guys are you're going to love episode 3. By the way, you're going to love episode 3. I know I did. And like at the end, when episode 3 ends, I'm like, no, where's the next one? Like the ending of episode 3 to me is fantastic. I'm like, no, there's got to be more. And there wasn't. So I got to wait. Now you guys are lucky. Like, yes, listen, I recognize I was lucky that I got to see the 3 episodes early, but now you guys are the lucky ones because you get a new episode you haven't seen in a week. I've got to wait 2 weeks to see an episode I haven't seen yet. So, but I think you're going to like episode 3 a lot. But yeah, anyway, I think even just in the things in episode 1 and 2, Richard, I think paint a pretty clear picture that this is not just what we would traditionally understand as some kind of dream state. It could be an alternate reality bubble of some sort, a twisting of reality, maybe pure illusion, whatever. But we already see in the episode, there are people on the outside looking in. So it's not just a traditional dream state, but it's going to be really neat, interesting here, Richard, to see how this unfolds and where they're going to go with it. And I can't wait for you guys to see episode 3. And then we can all start speculating about what happens in episode 4. All right, next up. Aiden Foley writes, the magnet of Christeries. I admit, Aiden, right now, I'm not sure what that is. It's gone over my head a bit. Sorry. Right now, there's 1,000 people yelling at their computers what it is. Oh, John, why don't you realize it's this? But I don't remember it off the top of my head. All right. Next up. Fan of Peanuts writes, so far, I'd give this a solid 7 out of 10. Yeah, I'd give it a solid 7, 7.5 out of 10 myself. But this is why I don't give scores to things. Because we live in a 0 or 10 world. And the moment you don't give something a 10, people go, oh, why did you hate it? And like, to me, like 7 means really solid. 7 out of 10 to me means really solid. And the reason I stopped giving scores is because people see 7 and go, why did you hate it? It's like, why do I even bother giving scores? So years ago, I stopped giving scores. But yeah, I think it's really solid so far. And I'm so excited to see where it's going to go. ANC Dre N15 writes, do you think Vision will live past this series? And somebody else asked that a little bit earlier. I do, because right now, and my mind could change, right now, my belief is that Vision has been brought back to life. I don't think Vision is just a part of the illusion that Wanda is living in here. I think he's back. How? I don't know. But I do believe he's back. And that's a big if he is back, then yes, I think he carries on past, I think he's back, period. I think he carries on past this series. I think he will be a part of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I think he will be part of other things, but you could change my mind. We may find out in episode 5 or 6 or something that Vision is still in fact dead. But right now, I think he's back. And so that's what I'm leaning towards. All right, next up. Brian Ankenbauer writes, in Wikipedia, AIM is tied to Kang the Conqueror. Do you think that's where we are headed? Villains leading us to Kang in all these Marvel Disney shows? Well, I mean, it's really more tied to Strucker than anything else, but there are ties there as well. But this is what I always caution people. Never think, and everybody always fights me on this, but it's always true. Never think that just because something is a certain thing in the comics, that's what they're going to do in the movies. We have seen so many examples that the comics are not the movies or the TV shows in this case. And the TV shows and movies are not the comics, right? We've seen this 1,000 times. Civil War, the movie, nothing like Civil War, the comic book story. X-Men Days of Future Past, the movie, nothing like X-Men Days of Future Past. I mean, there are definitely thematical things that they bring over, but like there's so many details, they're so radically different that never think that just because it's in the comic or there's an element in the comic that means it's going to have any ramification to the story that gets told on screen. It doesn't mean it won't. And we already know that Kang is coming in Ant-Man 3. Quantum Mania, I think is going to be the name of it. So, but I don't think that's connected to this. Because Kevin Feige already told us that WandaVision is tied into a story involving Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2. He didn't say it was tied into anything to do with Ant-Man. And we know Kang the Conqueror, that's where we're getting Kang the Conqueror is in Ant-Man 3. So my guess is no, but it's just a guess. It's just a guess. We'll see, Brian. We will see. All right. Grayson Vachon writes, in the one of the trailers, we see Wanda giving an interview, Modern Family style. When do you think this will come to be? This could give us an interesting personal perspective on Wanda and Vision. Well, it could be much later because it feels like to me, every episode is jumping ahead 1 decade. So it felt like episode 1 was a 50s style. Episode 2 is a 60s style. Episode 3 is a 70s style. I'm guessing episode 4 is going to be the 80s Full House style. And then episode 5 would be 90s. So, I mean, if they continue that pattern, and I'm not sure that they are, but if they continue that pattern, then it would probably be much more. It would be a 2020. It would probably be one of the final episodes, at least in the 2010s, 2020. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, next up. Good observation, though, Grayson. All right, Andy Newton writes, anybody else got a Truman Show vibe? Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit of a Truman Show vibe. I don't know that Truman Show is one of the influences of this. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's not one of the influences of it. but it definitely gives off a little bit of that. I think you're bang on the money with that one, Andy. I absolutely do. All right, next up, we got Josie Reviews writes, not sure if you saw 2019's Escape Room. I did, but the ending of the first episode gave me Escape Room vibe where someone is watching our main characters. Was that, wait a second, 2000? Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Because I'm thinking the one with Patrick Stewart. Hold a second. Escape Room. Oh, no. I was thinking of a totally different movie. Oh, yeah, this movie was terrible. Yeah, this is the one with Logan Miller. This one was awful, if I remember them correctly. Oh, you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of Green Room. I think Anton Yelchin was that? Was Anton Yelchin in that? Can't remember, but Patrick Stewart was in that. I was thinking of Green Room. That's what I was thinking of. Sorry. Yeah, Escape Room was, that was terrible. Where somebody is watching our main characters. But really, there have been, that's a trope that we've seen used many times in different TV shows and movies where something's happening, and then we realize someone's watching, right? So it's not a unique trope, but it is kind of neat the way it fits in here. And Sashana is saying in the live chat, the Green Room was great. Green Room was great. Very intense. All right. Next up, Collins E writes, I agree with Anne. It's always wise, especially as her husband, just agree with Anne. Makes life a lot easier. I agree with Anne. I'm loving Wanda and Vision, the sitcom just by itself. I can't wait for the rest of the series, but I was laughing my ass off. Oh yeah, listen. If the whole rest of WandaVision was just the sitcom stuff, it might be one of Anne's favorite shows of all time. Even if they don't do anything else of the MCU stuff, if they just stick to the sitcom stuff, this could very quickly become one of Anne's favorite shows ever. So she is right there with you, Collins. She is absolutely 100% right there with you. All right, next up. Richard K writes, do you think we will see any action at all in this season? Wanda and Vision schooling some fools? Absolutely. You need to have that. You have to have that. You have to have some scene where the heroes wreck shop on some cannon fodder. The only one that really didn't do it and it really suffered again is Superman Returns. At some scene, the hero has to rip through some cannon fodder. And whether that cannon fodder is going to be well-meaning sword agents or AIM agents, scientists, or Hydra or whatever, I absolutely do believe we're going to get to that when it's appropriate. Like right now, given the motif of the 50s and 60s sitcom, an action sequence would be totally out of place. Like it totally wouldn't fit. It would be jarring even. It wouldn't work. But I totally believe, I don't know for sure, but I totally believe as we move forward, this is still the MCU. We're going to see Wanda and Vision wrecking some shop, I think. Could be wrong, but we'll see. Colin Flynn writes, feel I'll appreciate it more later. Really fun, though. And I think you're right, Colin. I think this is definitely building up. This is laying all this groundwork, again, peppered with the tragedy of it all, that she's with her dead lover, who maybe is back. I think he's back. You don't know. But I do think for a lot of people that haven't been satisfied with the first couple of episodes, I have been, Anne has loved it. I think you're going to grow more satisfied as we move forward. Episode 3 kind of hints that a little bit, but we'll see. Thanks for writing that in, Colin. Emerson Barr writes, these episodes reminded me of Fallout 3's Tranquility Lane. It was a simulation where the main character was in a 1950s suburban reality simulator. You know what? This is, we're getting a little nerdy here. I honestly, I can't remember it wasn't Robert, but I was talking to somebody today. Who was I talking to on the phone today? It wasn't Robert. Anyway, felt like, what if this is like a Star Trek crossover? What if it's one big holodeck? Huh? It's this kind of stuff that the crew of the Next Generation USS Enterprise always used to do. Go into some transform themselves and send themselves into like some classic literature, whether it's Sherlock Holmes or whether it was a Western, whatever. And say, what if this is one big crossover, Star Trek and the MCU, and she's all on a big holodeck. It's just one big holodeck. So could be something like that, Emerson. You never know. All right, next up. Colin Flynn writes, Hi from Ireland. Hello from Ireland. Production design is super. Oh, God, it's so good. Acting is all great. Love seeing Bettany doing comedy again. That is one of the things that I really admire about what they've been doing in this show, is that the attention to detail is amazing. The attention to detail is just utterly and completely amazing. From the way the sets totally feel like those old style sets, whether it's practical effects or CGI, even if it's CGI, they're doing the CGI just like it looked like back in those old style shows. The way that Bettany and Olsen deliver their lines, the timing of it, the comedy of it, they have so lovingly crafted that era. It's beautiful. And I think even if you're somebody that hasn't really liked these first two episodes, I think even then you got to appreciate the beauty of what they've done and been able to recreate there. The atmosphere has been absolutely perfect. Good observation. All right, next up. Santino84 writes, greetings. Do you think there's a possibility of Catherine Hahn's character being, in fact, Agatha Harkness, being her name is Agnes in the show? I thought her name was Diane. I can't remember what her name in the show is. You know what? I should probably stop guessing and just look it up. Let me see what her name, because I keep on thinking it was Diane or something. Catherine Hahn's character's name in the show is Agnes. You're right. Huh. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up Catherine Hahn's IMDb page here. Give me a second. I don't know. Now, you know what? Let me look up Agnes, because let me make sure. I was about to say, I was already wrong about one character today. Let me look up Agnes Harkness here, just to make sure the character is who I'm thinking it is. Agnes Harkness. Sorry, why did I put that in wrong? Sorry, don't you just love this dead time when you're trying to do a live stream? Fictional character, powerful witch appearing in American comic books. Sorry. It's a good thing I double checked, because that's not who I was thinking. I was thinking of somebody totally different. I was not thinking of this character. Maybe it is. Listen, there are some websites that are reporting that she is that character. That she is Agnes. She's an old ancient witch. Maybe. Possibly. There are some websites that are saying it is her. Agnes Harkness. I don't know. You know what? It would make sense. I'm going to guess it's not. Although, as Protoss X in the live chat is saying, it does line you up with a witch versus witch. But I don't know. I'm getting the sense that Catherine Hahn's character is not an enemy. I could be wrong about that. And that does make sense. It totally makes sense. But it might just be a coincidence. Let's keep our eyes on it. You're right. Let's keep our eyes on it. All right, next up. Good observation on that, Santino. Next up, Benjamin GL writes, the noise on the toaster was Iron Man's repulsor sound effects. Was it? I don't remember that. I'll have to go back to that. Some people think it's a bomb sound, the red flashing light. I don't know what the red flashing light has to do with Iron Man's repulsor sounds. I'll have to go back and check that out. If you're right, that's a good observation, Benjamin. All right, next up, we've got The Harsh Truth writes, I get the feeling Vision is alive because he's also noticing the irregularities that Wanda notices. I agree. There are two things. I'm glad you brought up that second one. Number one, he himself is recognizing the irregularities. If he himself was a part of the illusion, why would he recognize the irregularities? But the other thing to me is that, unlike any of the other characters, right, we're not seeing any scenes in the movie or in the show. We're not seeing any scenes that Wanda or Vision are not in. We're not seeing Agnes alone in a scene with Dottie. We're not seeing these characters separate from them, right? So everything is from the actual living people's perspective. which suggests to me that since we cut to Vision's work where Wanda is not, that Vision is actually alive. Again, I could be wrong about that. I don't think that's anything you can take to the bank, but that's what I'm suspecting. I'm at least suspecting it right now. We'll see how that kind of unfolds. All right. DMen05 writes, really digging the show so far. They instantly managed to invest me into the mystery. If they stick the landing on this, it could be something special. Love you guys. Take care. And again, that's always the tricky part, isn't it, D-Men? The tricky part is always sticking the landing. It's always sticking the landing. And we've seen a lot of great movies and a lot of great shows that have been fabulous, 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 and don't quite stick the ending. Do they here? That's going to be the big, like one of the big questions. And how, then, by that ending, will we get a sense of how it'll tie into the Spider-Man and Doctor Strange movies, which is apparently one big thing, one big story arc. I'm not 100% sure. But listen, I love the originality. When you get 20 plus movies into your franchise, it's got to be difficult to figure out ways to really change it up and mix it up and make it feel fresh and new. And they've done it, like it or not. And maybe you're one of the people that hasn't really loved the first 2 episodes so far. But even if you are one of those folks, you got to admit, man, this is really a departure from what the other MCU stuff has been. I got to appreciate that. All right. Thanks for sending that in, D-Men. Next up, the Gixer73 writes, this series has a lot of similarities to the old G.I. Joe cartoon where Cobra put Shipwreck in a dream state where his life was perfect just to extract info. I don't remember that, but there have been a lot of shows that done stuff like that, right? That, wait a minute, where the hero has to realize, wait, this isn't real. You know, they've done that a lot. Even Star Trek The Next Generation kind of did that. Remember where Picard was put in that dream state where he literally lived an entire lifetime and then suddenly came back, where to the rest of the crew, he had just been gone for a moment or was out for a moment. But to Picard, he literally spent 50 years away. I mean, we've seen that play out a lot in many different things, but it's a good observation of that. All right. Tom Anderson writes, thank God the accent is gone for good. Thought the boss might bring it up when Viz said she's European. Also thought he might say, aren't you too? Yeah, I mean, they gradually, by the time you get into Endgame, you could really see they were moving her away from the accent. The accent wasn't working. Oddly enough, it worked better for Pietro. It worked better for Quicksilver. You didn't see that coming? I mean, I don't know why. For him, it just, I can't quantify this, but yeah, for him, the accent kind of worked. On her, the accent didn't quite work. And you're right. As they moved forward in the series, you saw that they were more and more moving away from it. So, yes, yeah, I think it's good that the accent is gone. I think it's good that, who knows, maybe they'll bring it back later, but for now, I'm kind of glad it's gone. All right. Let's see here. Robert N. writes, that was a Stark missile that didn't go up. Maybe, but I don't remember her. It's very possible because it's a Stark piece of machinery. The red light, like danger, is normally the red light flashing on the toaster, normally a sound of danger. I don't remember her in Age of Ultron saying that the bomb that didn't go off was beeping. I don't remember that. But maybe it's still representative because again, it's a Stark thing. Maybe it could be. All right. Next up, Patrick writes, I really hope we get a behind the scenes series like Mando. Oh, I totally hope so. I don't need it for every show that they do. And instead of maybe like a 5-part documentary series about every season, maybe just a good hour and a half, one-shot behind the scenes documentary on the making of. That would be great because they do them for Mando and I really like them on Mandalorian. All right, next up. A fan of Peanuts writes, one of two. Bruce Banner said in Infinity War that Vision is evolving. Parts of him are and some of Tony, Jarvis, Ultron, and the Mind Stone. So yes, Vision. Vision. It is easily conceivable that Vision is alive and through the Mind Stone evolved and literally survived. And yes, is there with Wanda inside her head. I mean, maybe, yeah. Again, there's the interesting dynamic with Vision is he is a machine for the most part, right? He is a machine. Did the stone give him a soul? Maybe. Maybe it did. I'm not sure. And maybe he is living in her mind. That's a possibility too. I don't know. I mean, Vision is a character that is so fictional that it really opens a lot of doors to what wild things they can do that you couldn't do with somebody with human biology, even in fiction. So I mean, maybe that could be one of the things that they're going for there, Fan of Peanuts. All right, that's good. That's a good thought. All right, Grayson Vachon writes, is it possible S.W.O.R.D. put Wanda in the computer simulation created by Leopold Fitz in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't think you're ever going to see Kevin Feige incorporate things from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into the show. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. always incorporated things from the MCU into their show. We have never seen Kevin Feige incorporate things from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into his playground. And no, I don't think that's what's going on here. I don't think that's part of it. Because if it was, why would a federal agent, if it is Randall Park, but why would a federal agent be going, hey, what's going on in there, Wanda? Who's holding you there? Where are you? Like, obviously, because they would be part of it, right? So no, I don't think this has anything to do with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Or maybe I'm just letting my complete disdain for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show come out, but I don't know. But no, I don't think that's the case, Grayson. But I can see why you connect those dots. I mean, it would make sense. I just don't think that's what Kevin Feige is doing, but I could be wrong. All right. Animated Effigy writes, the commercials are her trauma. Stark Toaster was the bomb that didn't blow. That's my thought. Strucker Watch was when the twins were experimented on. That's something we mentioned. It's all about trauma. Could be. What was the... Oh, I might be thinking of the third episode. Never mind. I was about to bring up another commercial, but I won't, because I believe that was the third episode. So I won't go there. But again, it makes sense, right? Everything about the toaster was kind of representative of danger. The flashing red light, which again, I believe was the first use of color in the series. The beeping, the beep, beep, beep. And everything about that was about danger. The fact that the Stark name was on it. Strucker being the one who experimented on them. I mean, these are all tied in. And then you'll have to wait to see the commercial in episode 3. And then we'll talk about it next week to see how that ties into that overall theory. All right. Good observation, man. Bleeding Green writes, I think that the person watching the TV screen at the end of episode 1 is Darcy. You know, we were just talking about how, where's Kat Dennings, I should say. Maybe. I thought it was a guy. It looked like masculine features, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Anyway, I hope you're right. I love Kat Dennings. I've loved her since the 40-Year-Old Virgin. I love her in the MCU and Thor. I was very excited to find out she was going to be in this. So I hope you're right. I hope that is her. Let's see here. That was Bleeding Green. Bleeding Green also writes, also, did you notice in episode 2 opening credits, it looks to be a little pic of the villain Grim Reaper? I did not notice that. Actually, if you've got a screenshot of that, do me a favor, email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. If you can get a screenshot of that and kind of put a circle around where you're talking about, because I didn't notice it. Just kind of went over my head. If it's actually there, I would love to see what it is you're talking about that. All right. Bleeding Green saying in the live chat, I can do that. Good, man. I would appreciate that. All right. Next up. OJ Man 654 writes, I really like Drunk Magician Vision. So did I. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but I did. In episode 2, I didn't know Paul Bettany can be so funny. Oh, dude, Paul Bettany can be hilarious. Like Ann was saying, go back and watch him in Knight's Tale. I actually think Paul Bettany is the best part of Knight's Tale. He's great. So he has done comedy. He actually had his own... Do you guys remember? I'm trying to remember. Paul Bettany tennis movie. Do you guys remember... Paul Bettany had his own movie. He starred in his own. This was around the time when they thought Paul Bettany could be like the next big star for a while. What was it called? It was called Wimbledon, 2004, and I believe it was the Spider-Man. Wasn't it Kristen Dunst? Yes, it was Kristen Dunst who did that with him. And let me bring this up here. Sorry, I lost it. Here we go. Wimbledon. Yes. And you know what? It's not a great movie. It's not a great movie, to be honest. It's really not. But he's really funny in it. It's a fun. He showed he's got comedy chops. As a matter of fact, it took me a little while to take him serious as a serious actor, but he's a fantastic dramatic actor. But it was just difficult for me to kind of wrap my head around him as a dramatic actor because I knew him initially as being really funny. So yeah, he has absolute fantastic comedy chops. I like him. All right, next up. Okay. Oakenwich Lane, I hope I got that right, writes, I'm not sure about this, but didn't one of the Infinity Stones come out of Vision? Yes. So if Captain America returned them, couldn't Vision be really alive again? But remember, they didn't get that stone from Vision, right? They went back in time to before the stone went into Vision. And so Cap has to go back and return the stones prior to a time that Vision. So they didn't get the stone from Vision. That's not where it came. They got the stone and they put it into the Vision android. And that's what brought him to life. So there's a distinction to be made there. Totally see why you're asking the question. Absolutely. But there's a distinction to be made there. That's not where it originally came from. They put it into him to bring him to life. They gave the Tin Man a heart. That's kind of what they did. All right. Next up. The Great Bondi writes, I loved the 2 episodes, filmed old school and with live audience. There was a couple of moments that I was like, oh, she is going to snap. What a good actress. Also, Anne is right. Join the long hair team. Yeah, Anne's been trying to get me to grow my hair. I am just waiting for the hair cutting places around me to open up so I can get it cut, because this borderline 1980s Canadian hockey player mullet look that's starting to come in here is not good for me. This hair on the top of my head, that look how much hair I have. It's too much. It's too much. I can't deal with it. You know what I love? I love nice short hair that I can brush my hair with a face cloth. Nothing's better than rolling out of bed and knowing you don't even have to look at your hair, because it's so nice, short and tight that it's going to be fine. You can just take a face cloth and there your hair is brushed. Darby is saying, I've got Anakin episode 3 hair. Yeah, that's kind of, that's good. And listen, people are saying, John, you just got to comb it a certain way. You don't understand. You don't understand. My hair has the worst like licks and waves to it that it can't just be brushed. There is nothing. The only thing you can do with my hair is like I did back in the day, where I grow it out till it comes about down to here. And once it comes down to about here, when my hair is like really long, it comes down to about here, that the weight of the hair is able, I don't know, none of you guys care about what I'm talking about right now. I don't know why I'm wasting your time, but hair talk with John Campea, but is to grow my hair long enough where the weight of the hair counters the natural licks and waves in my hair. And then I can just do the old Bono, pull my hair back, put it into a ponytail sort of thing. But that was a long time ago. That was a long time ago that I had that hair. Anyway, thank you for that, Great Bondi. Appreciate that. And yes, I love the old school elements of the show too. Absolutely. All right, next up. Joaquin Fernandez writes, I love the episode. I have a feeling that we will see Quicksilver return. I don't think so, but maybe, especially with the whole sitcom theme. No bias on this, just a gut feeling. Hey, listen, when you're talking, listen, if we're living in a fantasy idyllic world for Wanda, her brother coming back would just make sense, wouldn't it? Having her brother back, even if it's just fake and illusion, whatever, doesn't that make sense? If Wanda has created, or at least is partially responsible for creating, this safe, idyllic world where just her and Vision can have happiness and life together, wouldn't it make sense that the other most beloved person in her life, her brother, would be there? It would totally make sense. I'm not writing out the idea that we could see Aaron Taylor Johnson pop up. I'm not writing that out of possibility at all. It is, after all, the Marvel fake death universe. All right, next up. Muhammad Bakir writes, Wanda's parents were killed by a bomb from Stark Industries. Yes. And Wanda and Peter almost were. I think that's what the toaster with the beeping was. It's a common theory. And again, there's a lot of things that says it makes sense. The red light, the beeping, danger sounds. It has the Stark name. It's a piece of technology that has the Stark name on it. And again, the whole Strucker thing. The Strucker is the watch. Strucker is the guy that put them through their experiments and had them in those cages. It would make sense, Muhammad. It totally would. I don't know that that's what they're doing. Let's watch the commercial in episode 3 to see if it follows that theme. But it totally makes sense. It totally does. So there's a very good chance you're right about that. All right. Next up, Midtown Mike writes, it does make sense with Randall Park with the heading into Multiverse of Madness and the beekeeper being Ant-Man / Wasp. I actually enjoyed the episodes. You think the beekeeper might be Ant-Man? I don't. Okay, wait a minute. Let's look at this for a second. Let me see if I can find something here. Let me see if I can find this here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so. All right, I'm not personally ready to make any proclamations here. So this doesn't look like Paul Rudd to me. But to be fair, they were purposefully keeping, and there's the sword logo on the back. Anyway, they were purposefully kind of obscuring the look of on the face, right? So, I mean, I'm looking at it now in a still image. Clearly that's not Paul Rudd under there. But just because she's seeing the face that way, they are purposely kind of trying to hide it. Maybe it is Ant-Man, and it just doesn't look like him right now. You know what? It's not something I had considered, and I don't think it's what they're doing. But that's a possibility. Yeah, I'll say that's a possibility. Not a likely one, but I'll go there with you on that. All right, thanks for sending that in, Midtown Mike. All right, next up, Fan of Peanuts writes, just to be clear, I do believe Vision died and was destroyed, but I do believe before he managed to evolve prior to his death and is a part of Wanda. I mean, it's a possibility. Again, though, listen, the MCU is the fake death universe capital of the world, right? They always come up with ways that they can come back. They are dead. They were killed. They were destroyed. Oh, look, they're back. And they come up with some semantic way to explain it. And like, I don't want to hear anymore. None of this. John, that's not the same Gamora that was thrown off the cliff by Thanos. Yes, it is. It is the same Gamora. From a different time? Yes, but that's Gamora. I don't care about the semantics thing. Well, John, see, technically that's not actually Loki. It's a different... No, it's Loki, okay? It's Loki. Maybe Loki plucked from a different time than the current one was, but it's still Loki. It looks like Loki. It sounds like Loki. It walks like Loki. It walks like a duck. It talks like a duck. It quacks like a duck. Guess what? It's a duck. That's Gamora. That's Loki. That's Samuel L. Jackson. That's Nick Fury. That's everybody dies, comes back. Everybody, and they always come up with a way. And so with Vision, yes, they could say that he evolved, that his mind spirit went into Wanda's mind. Sure, maybe. But they could also come up with 100 other ways that they did it. They never really need much of an excuse. They can come up with anything they want, and they do it all the time. Anyway, that's just that. All right, next up, Matt Ford 53 writes, notice the neighbor lady kept mentioning her husband, but we never see him. Could be something to that. I agree. Even like in episode 2, I believe episode 2. Yeah, the episode 2 is with the talent show. Even at the talent show, Everybody else seems to be with their significant others except for Catherine Hahn. Her husband's, I definitely think that means something. I definitely think that means something. So we'll see. But I think you're absolutely right about that, Matt. I 100% believe you're correct about that. All right. Alexander Kent writes, I bet there is Mysterio technology involved. I mean, the only reason I think that this is even remotely possible is because this is going to tie into Spider-Man 3. But honestly, I don't think so. Like, illusion technology would not fool Scarlet Witch. That wouldn't fool her at all. Like, not, she would see through that immediately. So I don't think so. But again, the one reason I think there could be some validity to it as a theory is the fact that it is tied into Spider-Man 3 and Mysterio was in Spider-Man 2. So maybe there's a connection there. So let's chalk this one up to, you may be right. And if it turns out you are, I will remember you said that. But for now, I think it's pretty unlikely. But you never know. You never know. All right, next up. Empire Fan 1980 writes, do you think, however, this series ends or lead into Doctor Strange 2, something happens and she accidentally created mutants? No, I don't. You know, we talked about this on the show before. Ever since Disney took over Fox, every MCU thing that comes out, a group in the fan community goes, I bet this next thing is going to have the mutants or explain how the mutants come about. And then it doesn't. And then the next MCU thing comes out and there's a segment of the fan community that goes, I bet this is the one where the mutants get introduced somehow, some way. And then it isn't. Listen, Kevin Feige has said, and is it possible? Of course, it's been possible every single time, but obviously it's never come to pass. And Kevin Feige said when they took over, when they got the X-Men and Fantastic Four, and they said, how quickly are you going to bring them in? And he said, look, I've got my 5-year plan right now. So let us deal with our 5-year plan, and then we'll deal with X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that kind of stuff. And right now he's right on course to do that. You know, the earliest we're going to get a Fantastic Four, absolute earliest, is 2022, but it's probably going to be 2023. At that point, it is outside of the 5-year range. So I think Kevin Feige already knew what they were doing with WandaVision. And so I don't think that they're going to be using WandaVision to introduce mutants. I don't think they're going to be using that to introduce mutants. So yeah, I don't think so. He's got his plan. We're going to figure it out. And by the way, it's possible. It's possible. But right now, like Fantastic Four looks like it's coming up before they do anything or even introduce the concept of X-Men. And that Fantastic Four will be, true to Kevin Feige's word, 5 years after he said, I've got my 5-year plan. But here's the other thing. Anybody can change their mind. Even Kevin Feige. Even Kevin Feige can change his mind. Right? So yes, Kevin Feige said that. He has stuck to it so far, but it is possible. It is possible. They could get to that. So that's something to keep in mind. All right. Let's see. Where were we? That was Empire Fan. Okay, next up. Ian Nguyen-Du writes, really enjoyed it. Obviously, Agnes is important to the story, and her husband, who we haven't seen. I agree. I mean, clearly, Catherine Hahn is playing an even bigger role in this thing than I had hoped she would. Which is great. You put Catherine Hahn in every scene in this show, and I'll be totally happy. Is she hero? Is she villain? Is she friend? Is she foe? I don't think they've really made that clear yet. But I'm dying to see more. And you're right. The husband angle is definitely going to come into play here. Why have we not seen this guy yet? He's constantly referenced. We never see him. I think that's going to become important. Whether he's real or not, I think that's going to become important. We'll find out. All right, next up. Josh Tabak writes, I love the Bewitched opening credits in episode 2. So did I. That was so great. I am hoping the rest of the episodes do likewise for whichever series that episode represents. Again, I don't want to talk episode 3, but I think you'll be happy. I think you'll be happy because I'm with you. I hope they do that as every episode moves forward in era. I hope they totally do that where every episode has a brand new opening credits. Clearly it's what they've been doing so far. I think you're right, Joshua. I think they will continue with that. And I love it. I love that opening was fantastic. I love that opening to episode 2. All right. D-Men05 sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, D-Men. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for supporting us on that level. D-Men writes, commercial symbolism. In the Stark one, you actually hear the Iron Man repulsor sound. Remember in Age of AUO? Do you mean AOU? The twins tell the story of waiting for the Stark bomb to blow up. I think the commercials symbolize Wanda's traumas. Yeah, and again, that has been a theory that's been mentioned already by some others here today, and I think that's correct. Again, we will know that for sure as we see more commercials. As we move forward in the episodes and we see more commercials, that will become clear. But right now, it absolutely adds up, D-Men. It absolutely adds up. And again, I wonder why that red light on the toaster, I wonder if there's significance to the fact that that red light on the toaster was the very, very first thing in the show that was in color. I don't know, but I cannot help but wonder. I wonder if it is. But yeah, again, the Strucker thing, again, he's the one who, conducted the experiments on them. So Strucker's name being on that, obviously. So we'll see. Let's see how each commercial goes. That's going to become one. You can instantly tell right from the very first one. The commercials in each episode are going to be one of the things that I look forward to most in every one of the shows to see how they evolve, especially as the time moves forward, right? Because they always do a commercial that's also fits in with the era that episode was done in. So it's going to be neat to see how the commercials evolve as the eras move forward as well. So that's going to be cool to see. All right. Eric Casino writes, notice that the house suddenly goes from Dick Van Dyke in episode 1 to Bewitched in episode 2. The living room suddenly has a staircase and French doors. Well, that was one of the first things I noticed, Eric, was that as you got the exterior shot of the house, I was like, wait a minute. Was the house not a single story house just a minute ago? Ann and I, obviously we all watched them back to back. So in episode 1, was this not just a single story house in episode 1 and now it's a 2-story house? And you're going to see that theme evolve even more as we go into episode 3. So I can't wait for you guys to watch episode 3 so we can talk about episode 3. That, of course, will be next week. But yeah, I completely caught that too, Eric. All right, next up, Dennis Riaz writes, my mom's favorite show is Bewitched, so watching episode 2 brought a certain joy to my heart. I even felt some of Elizabeth Montgomery vibes on Wanda. Oh, I think you're totally right. Like, not only were the settings and the tone and all those sorts of things, but they deliberately took into their performances. There were moments in episodes 1, especially, you totally heard Lucille Ball, right? You could totally hear Lucille Ball in some of Elizabeth Olsen's performance. And as you move into the second episode, you can totally hear totally see and hear and feel some of Montgomery's performance in Elizabeth Olsen, right? So it wasn't just the setting and the sets and the tone and the music. It was also the performances themselves right on that. So I think that's a great observation, Dennis. All right. You know what, guys? I'm going to take, we've been going now for 2 hours and 15 minutes. I have run out of things to drink. And my throat's starting to get a little bit dry. So if you would be so kind as to indulge me for just 2 minutes, I'm going to run downstairs and refill my drink. If you would be so kind to give me that. Again, we're at about 2 hours and 15 minutes. We still got about another hour to go too, by the way. So hang tight with me, guys. Don't go anywhere. Talk amongst yourselves, and I will be right back. We'll see you in just a minute. Again, just give me a minute. If anybody comes along in the live chat, says what's going on, just tell them I'll be back in a minute. See you shortly. All right, and we are back. Thanks, guys, for giving me a moment to go and refill my drink. And as soon as I did, my phone rang, and it's my contractor who's doing the renovations on my house. So I had to take that for just a second. Anyway, then I sprinted up the stairs. Whew, running up 20 stairs is, whew. Okay, anyway, let's keep going here. Next up, thanks for giving me that break, by the way. I needed that. Chili. Are we at Chili? Did we just do Dennis? Yes, we did. All right, Chili. Level TV writes, Chill Level TV writes, I think I heard WandaVision might delve into office-style sitcom territory. I might be wrong, but that would be groovy. WandaVision did feel Lynchian. Well, see, here's the thing. As we move forward in time, every episode, if they keep following the pattern, every episode is a new decade. If they keep following that, then we're going to get into the 2000s. And once we get into 2000s, what is like the most, recognized, what is the representative sitcom of that era? It's The Office. It's shows like The Office, shows like Parks and Rec, shows like Modern Family. So I wouldn't doubt that in the least chill level. I haven't seen that report myself, but I absolutely believe that we are absolutely heading into that. Totally do. All right. Empire Fan 1980 writes, I geek out when I saw the mean housewife in episode 2. The actress played Anya in one of the best shows ever. Buffy, you're the other person to recognize. Somebody else recognized that. I totally don't even remember that. I have no recollection of that, but you're the second person to recognize that. And isn't that pretty cool, though, when you're watching a new show and you recognize somebody from a show you used to watch? I remember when I was watching Gotham, I got a big kick out of the fact that one of the guys from Gladiator was in there, the dude with the scar. That's always fun to see too. I like that. All right. Charles A writes, when she kept saying stop it, I felt like she was scared and begging Wanda to stop it. It did happen after he questioned them. Was she asking, I don't know if was Wanda doing it? Because here's my thought. If Wanda was the one choking him, then she just would have gone like this and it stopped. But instead, she basically broke character. This is the first time we see Wanda break character. The next time we see her break character is when she sees the beekeeper's like, no, right? She breaks character out of the 50s motif as like, Vision, help him. Like it was said totally differently, right? If she was the one doing it to him, it seems odd that she now needs Vision to intercede and help him when she couldn't just do it herself. But I mean, you very well could be at, but I thought she was, I don't know, to me, it was just so freaky. The scene was so freaky. Can you tell I'm not used to having this hair? I keep pulling at, and yeah, my stupid hair. Anyway, John Campea, hair talk. All right. But so we'll keep our eye on that as the series moves forward, Charles. All right, next up, Juan Lopez writes, I love that we got an Elizabeth Olsen sitcom mainly because I grew up watching her sisters in Full House. And we're just waiting for a Full House riff, right? I mean, unless Elizabeth Olsen said the one thing we will not do is a Full House riff, but they've got to do a Full House riff. Now, I did read a story because I started thinking about that. It's like, I thought, how hilarious would it be if they get into the 80s and 90s and they do a Full House thing and Mary Kate and what are the two sisters? What are the twins? Elizabeth's sisters twins, Mary Kate and Ashley. Is that the twins' names? Anyway, wouldn't it be hilarious if they do a Full House thing? Joshua is saying, yes, it is Mary Kate and Ashley. And Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, her sisters, pop up in it. But I just read an article today that said, no, they do not have Mary Kate and Ashley in it. Which is, to me, that's a missed opportunity. Now, they did say in the... we saw in the trailers that they have twins. Maybe that's their homage to Mary Kate and Ashley. I don't know, but it seems like a missed opportunity. If you have Elizabeth Olsen going through these eras of sitcoms and you get to a Full House era, not to have her two sisters pop up in it. I don't know. Again, it's probably fine, but I think it feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity. All right. Thanks for that, Juan. All right. Next up, Ben Rayner writes, loved the episodes. Pleasantville plus Stepford Wives. Yep. Plus something else. Great. Hashtag for the children. You may clap now. I don't know. I love that so much. That was so good. Yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to the whole thing that we were talking about before, that you could just feel the love of all these great older influences built into it, with a little bit of a Pleasantville vibe, and a little bit of a Truman Show vibe, and a little bit absolutely of the Stepford Wives vibe, and a lot of other things with the classic era shows. It's just so meticulously and beautifully and lovingly put together. It's really impressive. It's really, really impressive. All right, next up. Niferous writes, cool thing about it is, during Civil War, in Infinity War, she's been locked up by Tony, and she's been doing, and all she's been doing is watching old TV sitcoms. That's a possibility. What I think I said this earlier in the broadcast. What I think is happening here is that, like, the stereotypical thing in a lot of these old style, old European countries is they grow up watching the old pop culture American TV. And I think this is a thing of hers, that she probably grew up in Sokovia watching these old reruns of Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie and Lucille Ball. And that's her safe place. That's her safe place, is these worlds she used to watch on TV as a little girl. And so now she inhabits that and dwells there with the love of her life. And I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's something totally different, Niferous, but I have a feeling that's what they're heading towards, but we'll find out. All right. Ariane Parek writes, this show made me miss Schnepp. SM rip RIP, buddy. Yeah, there's a lot of things that come out in the MCU. I remember when I watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I thought, Schnepp would have loved this. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different, whenever the MCU does something really big or different, you can't help but stop for a second and think, man, Schnepp would have loved that. But anyway, thanks for writing that in, man. All right, Rusky9110 writes, they really seem to be leaning into Vision is a robot. He can't eat. He's very literal. In the movies, he was treated like a person with no distinction. Well, no, even in Vision's mannerisms, he speaks very Vulcan-like. Like he is very much like this. Our strength invites challenge. Remember that? That's a great line, by the way. Our strength invites challenge. Like he acts that way. If anything, he's given a lot more personality in WandaVision than he was out there. Yes, they treat him as an individual, and clearly Wanda treats him as her love. She doesn't treat him like a robot. But they do play into the fact that he is indeed an android. So I think both can be true at the same time. Like going back to Star Trek Next Generation as well. Data was very much an android, but they treated him as a living sentient being. And so I think both can be true at the same time. At least that's what I think, at any rate. Okay, let's move on here. Where are we? James LH writes, hey, John, I enjoyed this start, but seeing the Marvel logo with music and not knowing what's next for the first time since the summer of 2019 felt good. Oh, dude, I completely agree. And again, like I said this earlier in the show, when that opening dun 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 with the Marvel and all the images are going, you realize, holy shit, I didn't realize how much I missed this. This is awesome. And this is amazing. And I'm digging this so much that, yeah, I couldn't believe how much I just sat there and think, man, I missed this. I really do. I completely missed this. And you're right. You're watching that thing. You realize, you're right. I don't know what's coming next. Because every time I have seen that opening for the last year has been to watch a movie I've already seen. And now it wasn't. And yeah, it's pretty special, James. It's pretty special. All right, next up. Sam Fisher writes, The broken plate coming back together looks like footage of breaking plate in reverse, which would make sense because that's kind of how they would have done it before, but I have a feeling it was CGI. Not sure. And it could have been that. But yeah, I don't know. Again, whether they used the old style practical effect techniques to do it, or whether they use CGI to make it look like they used old school effect techniques to do it, it doesn't matter to me. The end result was they made it feel like the old school original way. So whether it was practical or CGI to me is irrelevant. What was the final effect? And the final effect is they even made their special effects look like straight out of that era. And that's the important thing, whether it was done practical or not. But yeah, it very well could be, Sam. That could be one way that they pulled that off. You're not wrong. All right. Next up, Iconic Reactions writes, John, fun fact. The day marked on the calendar is the day of the snap. Really? Also, over under, I gotta go and look into that. Is that true? Does that line up? Anyway, also over under 25%, we get an X-Men tease reference at the end of the season. I'm going to go not impossible, but well under 25%. Possible, not zero, maybe even greater than 1 or 2%, but I'm going to go well under 25%. And by the way, guys, if that's true, can you send me a link to something of that about the date marked on the calendar was actually the day of the snap? Because that's actually a really cool tie-in if that's the case. That's amazing if that's the case. Send that to me. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see that. That's a really nice fun fact. All right, Iconic Reactions also writes, I mean the day that Scarlet marked on the calendar. Oh, what day did Scarlet mark on the... Do you mean the date that had the heart on it? We don't know if Scarlet marked that or not. If it's a different date, I'm not sure. Was there another date that Scarlet marked on the calendar? I can't remember off the top of my head. All right, anyway. The Iceman 101418 writes, this show feels so unsettling. It totally does. At so many points, the ads were super symbolic, and then we are getting Wanda and Vision kids, which are a big deal. I mean, again, don't confuse the comics with what's happening in the MCU. They are two different, because clearly the comics never had anything like this, right? But they could be very big deals. Oh, I was about to say something, but that's an episode 3 thing. Ah, damn it. I got to catch myself there. Sorry. I'm sure all I will say is that this will be a topic we revisit after episode 3. I'll just say that. This will be a topic we will revisit after episode 3. Because, yeah, I can't say anything else other than that. For now, Iceman. Sorry about that. All right. Niferus writes, the toaster scene should have been Wanda's parents, or could have been Wanda's parents. You know what? Boom. I never even thought about that. That those two people in the commercial, that later on we're going to see a picture of Wanda and Pietro's parents, and that will be their parents. I've never, that is, boom, never even thought about that. Never even thought about that. Now, of course, in the comic books, Magneto is her father, but they're not doing that here. So I never even thought about that. That could be amazing if they did that. That very well could be their parents. Because after all, as the beeping and the red light were going off in the toaster, beep, beep, the camera cut to the woman's face who just looked almost terrified for a second. Maybe that was the look she saw in her mother's face. I don't know. My mind, you just blew my mind there, Niferus. Blew my mind there. All right, next up. Let's see here. Where do we go? James LH writes, this was using classic sitcom tropes, but with the black and white to color and the something not feeling right, I was getting vibes of the film Pleasantville. Yeah, and you're not the only one to notice that. You're right. There's totally Pleasant. And again, it wouldn't be the first time that the whole trope of going from black and white to color or a mixture of the two would have been used, but Pleasantville was a really big example of that. And you're absolutely right. That totally was there. That feeling was there. That atmosphere was there. And the vibes of Pleasantville were totally there. Absolutely, James, 100%. All right, next up, James Duffy writes, hey, John, love your show. Thank you so much, James. Have you seen the movie Zulu? It came out in 64. Again, I appreciate you asking the question, but we're here to talk about WandaVision. So I would recommend sending that in via the regular way, to send it to the John Campea Show using the tip link. It's just that we're here exclusively to talk about WandaVision today. Again, no offense, but like I said right off the top, try to keep the questions strictly to WandaVision because that's what we're here to do. All right, thanks for sending that in. But just so you know, I have seen that movie. And Michael Caine, if I'm not mistaken, in that one. Bryce Bradford writes, the toaster kind of sounded like Iron Man's repulsor. The other people said that when it was pressed down to me. Yeah, I mean, other people said that, so there must be something to it. To be honest, I never would have thought that. But there are so many people writing that in that there must be something to that. Or maybe it's just a generic beeping sound. I don't know. But now I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to go back and watch that and see if I hear that too, because I never even thought of that. Never even thought of it. But so many other people are recognizing it that you might be onto something there, Bryce. All right, next up. Michael Cinquina writes, who tips in like $61. Thank you, Mike, who writes, just to say thank you for all your shows. Oh, dude, thank you so much. That is so considerate. You know, when people just want to write in something to be kind and just to be supportive and to say something nice. Thank you so much for that, Michael. Seriously, appreciate that. And all of you guys who are helping make our shows possible. Seriously. So thank you so much for that, Michael. I really appreciate that, dude. I feel like I should say more, but I don't know what else to say. Thank you. Thank you. I'll just leave it at thank you. All right, next up. That author writes, the symbol of the beekeeper is from Sword, which we've just kind of established, which is kind of like Shield for space. Yes. Yeah. Sword. Remember, the first time we got a glimpse of Sword was at the end of Winter Soldier when, what's her name? Nick Fury's second hand, Maria Hill. Was it Maria Hill? Yes. When I think it was at the end of Winter Soldier, when Maria Hill, no longer working for S.H.I.E.L.D., I think went in for a job interview, and wasn't that like the beginning of the Sword reference? I think it was. Maybe I'm not remembering it right. Possible I'm not remembering it right. Anyway, yes, absolutely about that. We just looked at the picture again of the beekeeper. Let me bring him up again if I can find it. Yeah, when we look again at the picture of the beekeeper, you can see here on the back that definitely does look like the sword symbol. It definitely does. So let's keep an eye on that as we move forward, shall we? All right, next up, we got Casinema Reviews, who writes, sorry, meant to say not all of it was stock audio. Oh, I see what you're saying, going back to the audio. Again, I'd be hard pressed to think of it not being stock audio. I mean, at least some of it was. But again, to me, I guess kind of like the visual effects, whether they use practical effects to do it or CGI to do it, it's irrelevant to me. The end result was an effect that made it feel right for the era. And I guess I could say the same thing about the audio, whether that was actually audio from the actual studio audience, or whether it was canned, processed audio, which I think it was. But regardless, the end result is what matters. And the end result was they made it feel pretty damn real and authentic. They brought a verisimilitude to it, if you will. They brought a verisimilitude to it. All right. Zam Master Artwork writes in, tips in like $20. Thank you, Zam Master. Appreciate that, man. Writes in, could be a spoiler for what could happen, but in the comics, it is revealed that Wanda's children are fragments of Mephisto himself, so that could explain the line, that's not all the devil is in. Could change, but who knows? I have more of a feeling, because Kevin Feige does this a lot, I have a feeling that that's more of a little Easter egg than anything else. Again, the whole Mephisto thing just feels a little too out there. Like when you understand the character, it just doesn't fit to me. But then again, why am I freezing on the name of the big baddie? What's the name of the big baddie in the first Doctor Strange? That Doctor Strange says to him, I've come to bargain, or whatever it is. What's the name of that entity again? I keep forgetting it. You guys in the live chat, throw it out there. Oh, said Bruce Camp. Dormammu, thank you. Thank you, Marianne Johnson. Dormammu and Gretchen and AP and Tom. Oh my God, all of you guys. I'm the only one who froze on the name of Dormammu. Anyway, I've come to bargain. I would have said Dormammu seems a little bit too out there, even for Doctor Strange, but yet there he was. Mephisto feels, though, even really more out there. But there are connections. There are connections. So we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely possible. Listen, there are a lot of people who think it's almost a foregone conclusion that it's Mephisto, and very well it could be. Very well it could be. Again, to me, it feels like it's a little bit too out there for that, but we will see. And again, just because something happened in the comics, I don't think that's a spoiler at all. Comics are not the movies or the screen. Right? They're different things. Just because one thing happens there doesn't mean it's going to happen here. So I don't think you're in any danger there, Zam Master Artwork, of giving away a spoiler. If like referencing stuff that's in the comic books, that's out there. That's public information. You're totally safe. You did nothing wrong at all. So thanks for sharing that thought, man. All right. Just watching 9 watch writes, I think Vision is real, but went back to being Jarvis. That's a possibility. But then again, how does that even work? Because remember, Vision isn't Jarvis. Jarvis was a part of the original building block, but like Bruce said, Vision is part Jarvis, part Bruce, part Tony, part Stone. I mean, the entity of Vision is a very different thing. So I don't know, maybe they go that way. All right, Taki75 writes, Vision is part of her illusion. That's why he still has the Mind Stone in his forehead, which was destroyed by Thanos. Yes, but just because something was destroyed doesn't mean it can't be brought back. Just because in the Marvel fake death universe somebody dies, that they can't come back to life. So we'll have to see. Listen, Wanda is very powerful. Wanda is very, very powerful. And she's the one who almost single-handedly took out Thanos. I don't even know who you are. Most chilling 2 words I've ever heard in any comic book movie. No 2 words in any comic movie sent a chill down my spine the way Wanda says after Thanos yells at her, I don't even know who you are. And she says, you will. I just got chills just repeating it now. I have never had 2 words more chilling ever spoken in a comic movie than Wanda going, you will. That was terrifying. She's talking to the Mad Titan. She's talking to Thanos. And she basically looked him in the eyes and said, bitch, I'm about to school you. I'm about to school you. I'm going to beat you till your mama won't even recognize who you are. She was saying that to Thanos, the most powerful being in the universe. And she looks at him like with cold stone darkness and says, first of all, when she says to him, you took everything from me. Right there, you know you're fucked. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but you know you are effed. Like, I don't care whether she has superpowers or not. When any woman looks at you, or any guy, anybody looks at you with the way she looked at Thanos and said, you took everything from me. You're screwed. You're done. Any human being looks at you with that look in their eyes and says, you took everything from me. You're done. And then Thanos says, I don't even know who you are. And she just says, you will. It's like, holy shit. What's about to happen? It's like one of the best moments in Endgame. I get totally geeked out when I think about that scene. That scene is so freaking awesome. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Anyway, Wanda is so powerful that I will not put it by her that even the stone itself she could conjure back into being. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying that I think they've only begun to touch on really the true full power. There's a very strong possibility it may not be Captain Marvel. Wanda could be the most powerful character in the MCU. Maybe. I'm just saying, I am not putting it by them that she may, in just her own power, have been able to bring that Infinity Stone back into being. I wouldn't say it's a high percentage chance of that. I'm just saying, it's just, she's so powerful. You will F me. That was cool when she said that. Anyway, Mad1306 writes, sorry, I got carried away with that. I think it's AIM, not only because of the Beekeeper, but Strucker is also one of the leaders of AIM. Again, in the comics, yes, which I referenced earlier in the show. Strucker in the comics is not only worked for Hydra, but he was the founder of AIM. I believe he started AIM. But just because it's that in the comics does not mean they're going to do that in the movies. Most of the time, there is no connection. So it's possible. But Strucker is also one of the leaders of AIM. So my theory is the Avenger game introduced AIM and MODOK. So could this be MODOK? I mean, listen. Right now, with where we are in WandaVision, the two words, could this... The answer is yes to everything. Could this be the return of Thanos? Could be. Could this be the introduction of Kang? Could be. Could this be Nick Fury, trying to contain Wanda from becoming too dangerous? Could be. Could this be Vision from another dimension trying to help Wanda? Could be. Could this be MODOK? Could this be AIM? Could this be... the answer to all of the could this questions right now are absolutely yes. That's just where we are in the story. Now, as we get into episodes 4 and 5, I'm sure we're going to be able to refine that a little bit, and we'll be able to zero in and narrow in on a little bit more where we're actually at. But Mad 1306 could be. Could be. Well, let's see. I don't know how likely, but could be. Let's keep our eyes on it. All right. NPE94 writes, I have really liked WandaVision, but if others don't, that's not a problem. There's basically a new show every month. It's true. It's true. It's like if WandaVision doesn't work for you, we got a lot of other MCU shows coming. Whether it's Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is the one I'm really looking forward to, whether it's She-Hulk, whether it's Ms. Marvel, whether it's Moon Knight, on and on and on, whether it's a Hawkeye series, we got lots of other shows coming. And listen, again, whenever they try something very different, the only guarantee is that it's not going to work for everybody. Whenever you try really going outside and painting outside of the lines, the only guarantee is that not everybody... It just won't work for everybody. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the show. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the people who don't like it. It just means when you try something so radically different like what they're doing with WandaVision, it's not going to work for everybody. It's not going to work for everybody. All right, MPE also writes, are you surprised this show allegedly cost $150 million? Well, listen, we got 9 episodes to go. Well, we got 7 episodes to go. Technically, it's 9 episodes. It's a 6-hour... It's basically a 6-hour movie. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised. And by the way, what we're seeing, remember, what we're seeing in episodes 1 and 2 are going to be very different from what we see in episodes 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. This whole thing's going to evolve. So, no, 6 episodes? Sorry, 6 hours? That's basically making a $37 million movie. For every 2 hours is roughly $37 million. Wait a second. No, is my math right? No, my math is wrong. That's basically every 2-hour movie being a $50 million movie. That's totally reasonable. And again, don't be fooled by what we've seen so far. It's going to continue to evolve. So let's see where this thing ends up. All right. James Argenta writes, where are we? There we are. James Argenta writes, WandaVision seems to be influenced by House of M. There does seem to be some of those elements in there, but instead of Wanda changing the whole world, she changes one town or village. That could be. And listen, Kevin Feige has never been shy about drawing in influences from other titles in the old comic lore and bringing them into his movies or now shows. So I haven't heard that he's drawn in anything from House of M, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he gave his writers and showrunners the green light to bring in influences from other things like House of M. Because you're right, there is some stuff like that. You've heard Robert on the show talk about that as well. So yeah, I don't think you're off on that, James. I think you very well could be onto something there. All right, next up. Where are we at? We're at Gessus writes, Did you notice the 2 times people are restraint about asking questions? Wanda gets upset, then people get hurt. Well, I mean, obviously there was the case with the boss and like, tell us. It's like, okay. And then something else. What is the other thing though? What's the other situation where somebody's asking a question repeatedly and somebody gets hurt? What, like, guys? Oh, Dottie, that's right. Who put that in there? Nerds Nation and Andrew White. Yeah, Dottie, and then everybody else in there. Shira, Jera, Mike, Noah, Jason, everybody else. Thank you. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I know. You know what? I didn't think about that. I don't know if the Dottie one was really about her asking questions so much as really pushing her. And she got hurt. And then, of course, the blood was red, which was interesting. Guesses you gave us something else to think about there. That's a good observation. I totally forgot about the Dottie thing. I totally forgot about that. Very good observation. Let's see. I mean, some people in the live chat, like Jeremy in the live chat saying, Dottie seems fishy. Yeah, listen, there's a lot of things that seem fishy right now. That's part of the brilliance of it at the moment. So let's see where this all goes. All right, next up. Thanks for sending that in, guesses. Next up, we got Jacob Silvers, who writes, if it's that damn tree again, I'm going to rip it out by the roots. My favorite line out of the first 2 episodes. And what was it that she said when Vision mentioned that he was going to go to the neighborhood watch meeting and talk about security stuff? And Wanda says something that's right. It's like, that's right. You teach those random tree branches everywhere a lesson or something along those lines. I thought that was a really charming, funny joke. But there are a lot of moments like that one, Jacob, throughout the first 2 episodes that I just thought were so charming. That's the thing. Listen, I didn't head over heels love the first 2 episodes, but I really enjoyed it. And I thought it was tremendously charming. And where my real excitement for it comes is the way you can feel it setting up what is to come. Like all this groundwork needs to be done to really catch the full impact of what we're heading into. And again, part of that charm, Jacob, comes from all those little lines like that one. All right. Captain Melvin Seahorse writes, AIM was the company that Aldrich Killian founded from Iron Man 3. Could that be involved with the Beekeeper? You know what? That is right. In Iron Man 3, that when they were developing Extremis, I call it Extremis, whatever. I'm going to go with that. That is right. So that's already kind of been introduced. Again, I was thinking of, because it's, in the comics, they call, because they dress like beekeepers in the comics, right? So that's why I kind of made the AIM connection, not to mention Strucker is the founder of AIM, at least in the comic books, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to transfer over. But you're right. I totally forgot about that in Iron Man 3. That is a great observation. That is a great observation. By the way, guys, quick poll. Do you say extremis or extremis? M or eam? What do you guys say? I call it extremis. But maybe my pronunciation of that is, you guys are saying M. Yeah. Extremis. Yeah, that's what I said too. I had somebody correct me once saying, no, John, it's extremist. I'm like, really? Okay. That sounds like a type of person, an extremist. But you guys say it's extremis too. Okay, good. Okay, now I don't feel so silly. Thank you for not making me feel so silly. All right. Good observation, Captain Melvin. All right. Dr. Movies writes, what if Wanda opens a portal? Chris Evans is Human Torch. Yeah, so many people are, ever since the news about Chris Evans came out, saying he's coming back as Human Torch. That would be a kick in the pants. But no, I don't think that's going to happen, Dr. Movies. But that would be hilarious. Oh my God, that would blow up the internet if that happened. Connor Darroyne writes, in addition to the Stark bomb, the toaster implies that Wanda is a ticking bomb herself. Does it? I don't know if that's true. The red light signifies the manifestation of her powers. I don't know. You might be. I'm the one that reads too much into things. I think you might be reading into it too much, because that seems like contradictory iconography. Because in one hand, if it's a representation of the bomb, right? And remember, it literally has Stark's name on it, much like the bomb had Stark's name on it, right? I don't know if it's symbolic of two completely separate things. But, like I said for some other things, Connor, you never know. Maybe. But if that's true, then what's the symbolism of the Strucker watch? Right? On a basic level, which I think is probably the more likely scenario here, the toaster was a symbol of the one thing that threatened her. The watch was also a symbol of a thing of a trauma to her. And we'll see what happens with the commercial, the third one, if that also represents a trauma to her. But I don't know, it would be different things like that. But hey, let's put a pin in that, because maybe we'll find out later in the show that that's exactly what happened. Let's see. All right. You're looking at it differently than we are. And that's what you got to do with these shows. You got to look at it differently. And that's clearly what you're doing. So good on you. All right. Joni Mobley writes, demons, witches, witchcraft, hell, etc. I see where Marvel is going. However, this next phase should not be PG-13 in my opinion. That's why the original director for Doctor Strange resigned. No, the MCU absolutely needs to be PG-13. 100%. 100% the MCU needs to be PG-13. The MCU is about entertainment for everybody. And here's the thing. If Christopher Nolan can make the Dark Knight stuff and not be R-rated, then nothing has to be R-rated, except for Deadpool. Deadpool needs to be R-rated. You could do Blade PG-13, although Blade is one of those characters where Blade is probably better served being that. But no, the MCU absolutely should be PG-13. And honestly, I think the idea that things have to be R, I think that's a very limited way of looking at things. Like, oh, this thing can only be good if you say fuck 5 times. Really? Is that the math? Fuck 5 times equals good movie. And listen, when you watch things like Lucifer, or here's a better example, Hannibal. When you watch Hannibal and you see what they did, some of the things they did in Hannibal, and that can just be on TV, it doesn't have to be rated R. There are some exceptions, like Deadpool, maybe Blade. There are some exceptions, but no, I don't think there's any need at all for them with WandaVision or anything else that they have to be R. And Disney is just not that company. Disney is not going to do this whole thing all rated R. It's got to be for the whole family. The adults got to love it. The college students got to love it. The high school students need to love it. The kids younger than high school students need to love it. And that's just the way they need to roll in that. That's just my thought on that anyway, Joni. So that's just my thoughts. All right, next up. Matt Sanders writes, anyone going to mention that Wanda didn't have an accent? Oh, that's been brought up several times already. We've mentioned that. You must be relatively new to the stream, because that's been mentioned a number of times. Yes. And it is a good thing that they have, but it's not new, right? Like her voice in like Endgame is clearly, the accent is much thinner than it was in previous things, like from Age of Ultron to Civil War and moving forward. Gradually, the accent has disappeared, and it's kind of good that it's gone. Let's see. But it has been mentioned already. We've talked about that already several times, Maps. It's a good observation. All right, KB writes, you mentioned AIM. Remember in the Black Widow trailer, we see this medical technology hovering over Yelena when she's on that table in the second trailer. It says AIM on it. Does it? I never knew that. Do me a favor, KB, if you don't mind me giving you a little bit of homework, can you get a screenshot of that and email it to me at John at the John? I'm giving you guys so much homework to do. Sorry about that, but can you take a screenshot of that and send it to me at John at the JohnCampeaShow.com? I would love to see it, because that's not inconsequential. If that's true, that's not some minor little inconsequential detail. That could be significant. So thank you for pointing that out. All right. Let's see. DMen05 writes, props to director Matt Shackman, who I was not familiar with at all, and writer-director Jack Schaefer, who also wrote Black Widow, by the way, might be a good sign. Yeah, because so far this is great. I mean, look, We're just in the first 2 episodes. Let's see how the show evolves. Maybe it gets even better. Maybe it gets bad. I don't know. But so far, got to tell you, very impressed. Even though this isn't my favorite MCU thing so far, I am very impressed with what they've accomplished here. I mean, this is truly, truly impressive stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, next up, Gary Phillips writes, love your stuff. God bless. Thank you so much, Gary. I appreciate that. Always nice when people want to write in something just to be nice. I appreciate that. Thank you, Gary. Connie Zhang writes, sorry I sent a tip and not a super chat. No problem. Love the double meaning in lots of the dialogue, i.e. Geraldine asking Wanda how she got there and Wanda saying she's not talking and Wanda saying she's not talking. What was that from? Oh, was that the rabbit? Was that the rabbit? I think that was the rabbit. Anyway, all throughout it, it's the little double entendres, the non-sexual ones, the little double entendres, the little double meaning things all the way throughout was like truly one of the strengths of the show so far that I have really enjoyed. And I think they've done like a really, really good job with. And it is those little moments and those little lines when you recognize multiple meanings, Connie, that stand out to you and kind of stick with you even after the episode is over. And I hope they continue with that. Although that was very much a truism of that older style of comedy as well. But I hope they carry on with that a little bit. I really do hope they carry on with that. By the way, guys, I'm just going to throw this out there right now. We've now been going for 3 hours. So we still have a number of questions to get through. So I'm going to ask for you guys not to send in any more questions because honestly, my throat's starting to go. I did a 2-hour show this morning and now we've just wrapped. I've been talking for 5 hours today. So we're going to have to cut this off soon. So let me hear. And by the way, Cody, who's in the live chat, don't spread false information. There is no news that Daredevil is in Spider-Man 3. Let me be clear here. One website has claimed that, and I believe them, but one website has claimed that they talked to somebody who says that they saw Charlie Cox on set of Spider-Man 3. That's that whole story. That's the whole story. That one website, one writer on one website talked to somebody who we don't know who that is, who say that they saw Charlie Cox on set of Spider-Man 3. That's where all the things you see running around right now are Charlie Cox is in Spider-Man 3. That's where that's coming from. Now that doesn't mean it's automatically 100% not true. That doesn't mean that, but please don't go running around. Did you hear the news? Everybody, Charlie Cox is in Spider-Man 3. Okay. Right now there's one website that says they talked to somebody who says that they saw Charlie Cox on set one day. That's literally this whole story. That's literally the whole story. So again, it doesn't mean it's absolutely not, but yeah, don't run with that. It's one website wrote that, and then about 3 or 4 other websites are just repeating what that one website said. So again, it doesn't mean it's not true. I'm just saying don't run around with it and start telling people as if it's fact, because right now it's not. So let's see what happens. Okay. Let's see. Next up, hold on a second here. Where are we at? Okay. Next up, we've got the Grixer 73 writes, John, do you think there is any connection with Iron Man and the helicopter since it was the same color as his suit? Well, somebody else wrote in an interesting theory earlier, Grixer, and I can't remember who it was. Somebody else wrote in an interesting theory that what if that was, because you heard, right? It sounded like a lawnmower to me, actually, but it was this helicopter. Maybe it was a drone, whatever, but somebody had the theory. What if Ant-Man technology, what if it was a real full-size helicopter and it got shrunk down? Interesting theory. Maybe there's a connection, but I mean, I don't know. If it was a blue helicopter, would that mean it's symbolic of Captain America? I don't know. I don't know if there was any symbolism there. I hadn't thought about that, but maybe there is. Maybe there's a connection to her thoughts of Tony Stark and all that kind of stuff. Maybe there is. I mean, there's a lot of that in this. There's a lot of that there. All right, next up. Dan Samoflange writes, hey, John, great show. Thank you so much. Which characters do you think are real, in on the illusion, and which ones are just simulations conjured up? Again, it could be a mixture of any three, right? With every character, I think there are three possibilities. One, somebody who is a prisoner in this illusion. Two, somebody who is in on the whole illusion. And three, some people who are just the illusion itself. I don't think everybody in there is, everyone's either in on the illusion, everybody is the illusion, or everybody is captive in the illusion. I think everybody there is a mixture of the three. I don't know that. I'm just guessing. Right now, what is clear is that Agnes is clearly, I think, in on it. I think she's in on it. I think, I can't remember the name, but the black next door neighbor, I think he's in on it. And then others, like the guy who said, I wore a turtleneck. I think he's probably part of the illusion. I think the guy, Vision's work buddy who sits beside him at work, I think he's an illusion. So, and maybe That 70s Show mom, maybe she's a prisoner. I don't know. It's too hard to tell at this point. It's too hard to tell. Then there's Dottie. Like, what part does Dottie play? Is she just part of the illusion? Is she in on it? Is she, I don't know. I think I need to get a few more episodes in before I really know. The one person I feel very confident is that Agnes is real. If for no other reason, in one of the trailers, she goes, am I dead? And Vision says, no, why would you ask that? And she says, because you are. So, I mean, for her to say, am I dead? I think that means she's probably in on it. That's the only one I feel confident about right now, which is kind of exciting. I like not feeling super confident about any of it yet. All right. KM Reviews writes, being that you obviously enjoy this show so far, I do. I'm enjoying it so far. What would disappoint you by the end? Any theories coming true you wouldn't like to happen? I usually don't like to go there. I don't think about what I don't want. Well, okay, look, I'll say this. The only thing I can really think of is they pull a Dallas at the end. It was all a dream. None of it was real. Like, that's the only thing that would really turn me off. If they get to the final episode and Wanda wakes up on the beach because she's been vacationing in Maui and just literally fell asleep on the beach and then had this big wild dream and then just woke up on the beach again. So, oh, wow, I've been out for a couple of hours. Woo! She's hanging out with some girlfriends and on the beach, and it was all just an inconsequential dream. That would ruin the whole thing for me. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, like, it's all about execution. So I don't like to go into what I think they should do or what they shouldn't do. I just like to say, hey, storytellers, tell your story and execute it well, and then we'll see how it works. I don't like to go into stuff and think they better not do this or they better do that. You know what I mean? Other than doing the whole Dallas thing of it was all just a dream. None of it was real. Like that would probably annoy me and probably about a bunch of other people. All right, next up. D-Man05 writes, dude, how effing fun is it speculating on these mystery box shows? Thank you so much for going this long and for letting us get hype. It is, listen, it's a lot of fun getting into this stuff. I mean, that's true of The Mandalorian as well, because here's one of the fun things about doing these spoiler videos and discussions about TV shows rather than movies. Because when we're doing spoiler discussions about movies, which are still completely fun, but the movie's over. We know everything that happened in it, and it's done. The added thing about doing it with a show like Mandalorian or WandaVision is that not only are we talking about what happened, we also get to speculate about what's going to happen next week. And that's like the added thing. So I love doing the open spoiler discussions about the movies, but there's that extra little added fun about doing it with their shows too, because it gives that extra little element to it as well. Okay, thanks for that, D-Man. Ben Rayner writes, looking forward to Falcon and Winter Soldier more than Loki. For me, it's Loki by a long shot. Oh, don't get me wrong. Listen, I am looking forward to Loki very much. He is one of my favorite characters in the MCU. I certainly like him more than I like Falcon or Winter Soldier. And I like both those characters, but yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer Loki. He's one of my favorite characters. But There's just something about the way that show seems to be coming together. I'm losing my mind for Falcon and Winter Soldier. So yes, even more than Loki, while I am very excited for Loki, I am the one I'm most looking forward to is definitely Falcon and Winter Soldier, by a lot, as a matter of fact. But again, super looking forward to Loki. All right, next up. Diego Chavez writes, oh, by the way, you know what? Can I say this? Nathan Gendron just said something in the live chat. And let me take a moment and editorialize on this for a second. Because we talk about this every once in a while on the show. Nathan just pointed out in the live chat, so glad we didn't get the full season on the same day. This is one of the big advantages to dropping episodes weekly than dropping seasons all at once. And I'm a binger. I like it when they drop seasons all at once. I do, but the advantage of this, we saw it with Mandalorian. We're experiencing it now. We're all at the same place, right? We're all at the same place. Again, guys, I want to ask you guys again, please don't send in any more super chat questions. I got to wrap this thing up here quick. We're all at the same place because when seasons drop all at once, some people by the end of the week, they're through 3 episodes. Some people go through every episode in 24 hours. I mean, we're all on the same place. We can never talk on the same page. And then we have nothing more to look forward to. It's done. Mandalorian and WandaVision are great examples of this. We watched it, we enjoyed it, we had a good time, and now we got another one coming in a week where we get to again talk about it, dive into it as fans, speculate even some more, and then another one comes in a week. It is such a huge advantage, and one of the reasons why I really do think that this is the way to release these shows. Again, and I say that as a binger. But this is the right way to release these shows. It absolutely is. It builds the hype. It builds the excitement. It keeps all of us fans on the same page as we go week to week together. It's just a better way to do it. And I know that's still up for debate, and a lot of people discuss that, but it's kind of what I think. Anyway, let's now move on. My throat is really starting to go. Diego Chavez writes, do you think Ultron will show up considering he had a tremendous impact on Wanda in the past? Let's put it this way. Somebody else asked a pretty identical question to this maybe about 2 hours ago. I do not think Ultron's coming back. Although I would love it if he did because I love James Spader's voice. But could a manifestation of Ultron show up? Maybe. Wouldn't it be funny if like the mailman who comes to the house is actually Ultron in a mailman suit? Here's today's delivery, Wanda, or something like that, and no one else blinks an eye. It's just, oh yeah, that's mailman Ultron, and it's a robot, but nobody really notices that. I don't know. That would be that's possible. Again, I don't think they're going to bring him back, but could Ultron or a manifestation of Ultron take place within her fantasy illusion? Maybe. That's a possibility too. And again, any excuse to get James Spader back to do the voice again, I would be all for. Okay, next up, Jacob Hirsch writes, I love how the song Help Me Rhonda, Help Me Rhonda, yep, Help Me Rhonda sounded like Help Me Wanda. True. When the radio started warping in episode 2. I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that it started sounding like Help Me Wanda. Or did I? Now I got to go back and watch. Help me run. You're right. It does totally sound like that. Maybe that's exactly it. Maybe that's a deep symbol too. You pointed another thing out to me, Jacob. You pointed another thing out to me. Now I got to go back and watch that again. Now I'm all hooked on Mailman Ultron. I want to see Mailman Ultron. Any of you guys artists, draw up Mailman Ultron and send it to me. I'll show it off on the show if you do. Anyway, James L.H. writes, you can read anything. So I read an Easter egg 23 August as number 238, Avengers storyline with Vision and Monica Rambeau on the cover. My birthday also. Why not? Why not, James? Why not? Hey, listen, we know that in the MCU, we've talked about this. Kevin Feige likes dropping these sometimes difficult to uncover Easter egg sort of things. And that would be a perfect example of that. So I don't think you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy about that at all. That very well could be. That's a really interesting thing you pointed out. All right, Run Amok Design writes, oh snap, Asif Ali, who plays Norm, is in Mandalorian. Is Norm his workmate? Is Norm the guy who works with him? I didn't even think about it. You know what? Let me bring this up for a second. I think that is the guy who plays. Yeah, that's the guy who plays his workmate. All I know is that ever since you got here, production is up 300%. I think that's the line that he says. Was he in Mandalorian? Who was he in Mandalorian? Caban. I don't remember. Oh, so he was in Mandalorian season 1. I'm looking at this on IMDb, on the IMDb page right now. I don't ever, obviously he was probably some kind of costume or something, but yes, he's the guy who's the workmate. I love Vision's work, by the way. To me, it's just hilarious. All right. Next up, we got Super Crazy Movie Geek writes, do you think they could still eat lobster on door? I would. Well, no, let me take that back. I actually don't eat seafood. I don't like lobster. Everybody's looking at me crazy. Are you nuts? I know I don't like lobster. It's really weird. Really weird. I don't like lobster. But I'm sure they would. That would be a very expensive thing just to let go, even if it was a door knocker. All right, next up, Iconic Reactions writes, okay, John, if we get an X-Men reference, probably not this season, but in season 2, if greenlit, who do we get first, Charles or Magneto? A Vader hallway scene for Magneto would be boss, instant spunk. Well, I mean, the thing is, we've had Magneto scenes. We've had Magneto Vader hallway scenes, right? One of the best ones, actually. I'm not a big fan of X-Men Apocalypse. Not a big fan of that movie. But the scene in that movie where Magneto's new wife and child are killed, dude, I love moments in movies, and they happen very, very rarely, where something happens and you just want to put your face in your hands and go, oh, guys, what did you just do? You are completely screwed. That scene in X-Men Apocalypse, when those guys murder Magneto's wife and child, I can't remember the last time I felt that whole, you guys are all dead. You're all dead. Oh my God, you just killed Magneto's life. His wife and his child were his life, and you just murdered them. And by the way, he doesn't like humans all that much to begin with. And oh my God, you're done. You're done. Oh God, I love that scene. So we've already seen Magneto get that Vader hallway scene when he just starts killing those guys, right? Just ripping them. I'm going to go out on a limb here. A lot of people are going to disagree with me, and I could very well be wrong. I don't think, even when they bring in X-Men, I don't think they're going to make Magneto her father. But John, in the comic books, I know, Magneto is Pietro's and Wanda's dad. I know. And I could be wrong about this. I even hope I'm wrong about this. I just don't think they're going to make it that he's their, because listen, their origin, they're not mutants. The way their origin was worked in the MCU is that they're not mutants. The stone gave them their powers. And so I do not think they're going to make, I don't think they're going to make Magneto her dad. Again, could be wrong about that. That just seems to be where they're kind of going with that. And I don't think Wanda's ever going to be a mutant. I don't think they're going to say she's a mutant. I think they're going to say she's something totally different. But we'll find out. And again, I understand, but John, in the comic books, yes, I know. I still don't think they're going to do it. I hope I'm wrong, though. All right. Jacob Hirsch writes, I also love how being that this is the first MCU TV show is literally a love letter to TV. There is something appropriate about that, isn't there? There's something very appropriate about that. Like this, the first TV show, and they started off with it being a total love letter to TV. And Brian Dawson writes in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thanks for that, Brian. Appreciate that. It is complete. It's very, very poetic. You're absolutely, it's a good observation, Jacob. It's very poetic. Jacob also writes, maybe Agnes's husband that she keeps joking about is actually the villain. I mean, that's what some people have already kind of speculated about. Agnes is in on it too, keeping up the illusion. Again, there's something about it that I'm just not getting the feeling that Catherine Hahn's character is against Wanda. Now, I could be wrong, but as we've gotten through the first few episodes, I just don't get the feeling that she's against her. And again, I feel, I could be wrong. Could be totally wrong. I mean, by the way, this husband of Agnes's may not even exist. I mean, it could be that the reason we don't see him is because there just literally isn't a husband. Or maybe he's very, very significant. We'll find that out later on. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. John Salvi writes, could this be the reality stone at work? No. In this reality, the reality stone is gone. So I don't think so. Impossible? No, not impossible. But very unlikely. They would have to do a lot of narrative dancing to kind of make that something. So I'm going to guess the answer is no. And by the way, the idiot savant reminds me of 40-year-old virgin, sent in a $20 super chat badge in the live chat just to be supportive. Thank you, idiot savant. I really appreciate that, man. And again, that makes me think of 40-year-old virgin. I always appreciate that. All right, next up. John Salvi. Oh no, that was John Salvi. Luke1234 writes, fast forwarded episode 2 because I was so bored. And hey, listen, again, whenever you try something new, it's not going to be for everybody. This is not a stereotypical, at least the beginning, the first couple episodes are not a stereotypical superhero show or movie that we've become accustomed to. It's not. I personally find it really refreshing and very charming. Again, it's like one of my wife's favorite things she's seen on TV in years already, but it's not going to work for everybody. And again, I don't think that means there's anything wrong with the show, and I don't think it means there's anything wrong with you. But it's different. It's definitely different. And that's it, guys, that we've got through. And of course, Brian sent in the super chat badge. Idiot sent in the super chat badge. Thank you so much for that, guys, just for being supportive. I appreciate that. And guys, it's almost been 3.5 hours to talk about 2 episodes, but we are done. We got through all of the topics and questions about WandaVision. I think we're off to a great start, guys. I know we couldn't talk much about episode 3, but I am very excited for you all to see episode 3. And I cannot wait for us to come back again next week to talk about episode 3. And guys, just a reminder, we will be back next Friday. Ann and I, this time Ann will be able to stick around longer because we won't have the dogs here. Ann and I will be back next Friday to talk more WandaVision, episode 3. Cannot wait for you guys to come back and join us. And guys, thank you for being here and spending some of your Friday evening here with us. A special thank you to all you guys who did send in all the comments, questions, observations, theories. Love it. You gave us great fun things to think about. I learned a few things that I overlooked, so thank you for enhancing my experience. But also you guys supported the channel and you make our shows possible. So thank you very much for all of that, guys. Really, really very much. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. Just to give you an update, this weekend, we got a big companion video coming this weekend. And then, of course, the John Campea Show returns again on Monday. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.